Good morning and welcome, everyone. We apologize for the delay in starting this morning due to technical difficulties we are experiencing at the Civic Center right now. Today is May 12th, 2021. Some housekeeping matters before we begin our hearing today. During the declared emergency in the City of Toronto Committee of Adjustment, virtual public hearings are being conducted by electronic means through WebEx, an online digital platform, and streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel. These measures are necessary to comply with physical distancing requirements and a provincial order that limits attendance at public gatherings. This will be a virtual public hearing, and participants who have registered in advance will be able to make their presentations to the committee using WebEx, an online event that is being moderated by city staff. Anyone wishing to view the hearing may do so by watching on YouTube. Participants who have registered in advance will be connecting either by their computer, a phone, or tablet app, or by telephone. All participants will automatically be muted on entry. When your item is called, each participant will be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. Only the committee members will be participating by video. All registered participants will be participating by audio only. We ask that you mute all of your personal devices, including the YouTube stream, when you're not speaking to prevent transmission of background noise and minimize disruption to the meeting. Please unmute your computer microphones before speaking. Please ensure to mute the YouTube streaming while you're speaking. The hearing will take place at a slower pace. Each item will be stated, and then a moment will be given to allow everyone time to find their place. Please write down the WebEx meeting access code and attendee ID from your WebEx meeting invitation and keep it nearby for quick reference. If you experience lag or audio issues, please disconnect and call into the hearing and enter this information. Please call into the hearing with the phone number that you have registered with so that staff can recognize your number and unmute you when your item comes up. Before we begin, we acknowledge the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit and the Williams Treaty signed with multiple Mississaugas and Chippewa bands. In accordance with Section 45 and 53, the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment for the City of Toronto is now called to order. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for minor variances from the provisions of the zoning bylaw, permissions to extend or alter lawful non-conforming uses, and consents to create new lots. I will now briefly describe the hearing procedure. When an item is called on the agenda, I will confirm if the applicant and all registered speakers are present. Once confirmed, I will request the agent or the applicant if they wish to proceed with their presentation if desired. When the committee does not require a presentation, applicants are to advise the chair should they wish to speak to the committee. The committee may ask questions or take the matter into committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant and the agent, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee. I will comment when you are reaching the 5 minutes. When addressing the committee, please clearly state your name and address. Please remember to confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. The applicant or the agent will proceed first and will make a presentation to the committee. Please note that the committee may decide to not entertain revisions to the proposals at the hearing today. The committee may decide to defer the application if it's substantially revised to ensure that the revised application is accurate and that all those entitled to receive the notice of application are informed of the changes. The committee may entertain revisions if, in the opinion of the committee, the requested revisions are straightforward and minor in nature and may not affect other variances or the overall proposal or the intent of the application. Then speakers, either in support or in opposition to the application, will be invited to speak. Please ensure to include all your remarks or concerns that you have. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they have finished their presentation. If there are several speakers sharing the same view, please select a spokesperson to present the group's opinion. We certainly want to hear your views. However, covering the same points will not advance your cause. Please be advised that all registered speakers at the hearing today will be given a chance to speak before the committee moves on to the applicant for a rebuttal or a response to the concerns that were raised by the speakers. The chair will advise if there are any questions for the speakers. When all speakers are finished, the applicant or the agent has an opportunity to rebut only those issues that were raised by the speakers. Please note that unless committee members have any questions, the speakers will not get a chance to rebut the applicant's response. This will mark the end of the discussion. The application will then be taken into committee for a decision. Committee members, we have received the minutes of the last meeting. I would like to have a motion to confirm and adopt the minutes of the last hearing. May I have a mover and a seconder?
Madam Chair, I put forward the motion for approval of minutes of the Committee of Adjustment meeting dated March 31st.
Seconder, Member Macaulay? Could you please unmute yourself?
I will second that motion.
Thank you. All in favor of this motion? The motion's carried and the minutes of the last hearing have been adopted. Are there any declarations of interest or of panel or staff at the hearing today? I see none. Thank you. There are no declarations of interest. Mr. Deputy Secretary Treasurer, have you received any requests for deferral today?
Through the chair, there is one deferral request, item number 16, 513 Victoria Park. A deferral request from the owner. The agent recently passed away and the owner needs additional time to make alternative arrangements for processing her application. So the deferral request is to defer sine die.
Thank you. Members of the committee, we have a request for deferral for the reasons as explained by the Deputy Secretary Treasurer. Any questions with regards to the deferral? And if there are no questions, may I have a motion on the request for deferral? Member McKay.
Madam Chair, I would move that we defer this item for the reasons stated. It should be deferred and put over sine die. Thank you.
Thank you. May I have a seconder for this motion? Member Saeed?
Madam Chair, I second the motion.
Thank you. All in favor of this motion? The motion is carried. Item 16 has been deferred sine die, and please accept our condolences to the family for the loss. Thank you. Are there any further requests for deferral, Mr. Deputy Secretary Treasurer? I see none. There are no further requests for deferral. We will now begin our hearing, and we will hear the items number 1 to 17 that are included on the agenda under the 10 a.m. time slot. So I'm going to repeat. We will be hearing items number 1 through 17 on the agenda, which have been listed under the 10 a.m. time slot. Moving to item number 1 on the agenda, 96 State Crown Boulevard. We have with us registered the agent, Ms. Yasu Somalingam. Staff, is he with us?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Yasu. Members of the committee, this is a minor variance application to construct one-story addition. We have before us 3 variances. Mr. Yasu, would you like to make a brief presentation to the committee?
Yes, Madam Chair, we are under the site plan application process on this application. We made this application long time ago, a couple of weeks ago, and we went through with the planning staff to go through all the necessary requirements. So we work with the engineering, transportation, um, uh, um, all different sections through the site plan application process. So we're in the final stage. So to go to the next step, we need to get these variances approved. It's basically a single-story addition to the existing repair garage facilities. We are having some deficiency in the parking and also the parking on the street Blvd. As I mentioned, the planning staff are happy with the application. We have changed so many things during the process. So we are seeking your permission so that we can go to the next step.
Thank you, Yasu. Are you aware of community planning staff report and the recommended condition in the report?
Yes, I do agree with the conditions.
Okay, and we also have, for record, the comments from Transportation Services, and they had no concerns.
Yes,
Thank
we
you.
agree with that.
Thank you. Members of the committee, any questions for Yasu? I see none. Oh, Member Said, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, so I understand this is for unit number 4. The variance the variance I am talking about is the GFA, the variance before me. It says the GFA is less than 950. Could you confirm what is the exact GFA there?
Okay, so the one of the unit has a smaller unit area. So the minimum area as per the bylaw is at 960 square feet, which is it's about it's extremely high for the tenants over there. So we had to seek variance on that matter so that the requested variant of that smaller unit so that can comply as per the zoning bylaw.
So the GFA there is 234 square meter as against the requirement of 950 square meter. Am I reading it correctly?
That's right.
And my second question is the proposed parking is 68. Does it include the 4 parking which has been proposed on the street yard?
Yeah, so that's including the 4 display parking for the cars, yes.
Thank you, Yasu. Thank you very much for this information. My comments on this will be yes, the GFA is quite short as compared to the required. So the variance before me is looking at to that is there is quite a bit of difference there. Even if the parking is okay, including the street yard, but the GFA is really matters to me while looking at this variance. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Member Said. Any further questions, members of the committee? I see none. For record, there were no correspondence received from any member of the public. Yasu, before we take the matter into committee, any further comments?
No, as I said, that the performance bylaw requires for these are inside unit GFA units for the each unit to be certain sizes. So each unit need to be about 10,000 square feet, which is extremely high for a repair garage facility. So that's why we had to seek for that variance. So we are not increasing the overall site area or decreasing the overall building area, anything like that. This is about a one individual unit. So there are multiple units there. So it talks about one individual unit. So this works better for a big, like big like Toyota or Ford Motor Company who has a big sales area, big repair facilities. That works perfectly fine. But for a smaller, small level, medium size operator who has 2-3 workers working in a repair garage facility, they don't need a big area. This caters to those type of needs for a small operator. So that's the reason we had to come for variance to comply that. So it is not affecting overall building area, or it's not, we are not asking or reducing any overall building area. It talks about small one particular unit or unit basis, so that instead of one big big AAA tenant coming into the unit, a small papa store can come there. They can work in two people together and run a repair facility. So that way, it's helps small level, entry level repair facility people to get into business and sort of thing. So it's a very genuine request for any tenants to move in there. So that's the reason we're asking for that variance. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Yasu, for that explanation. That's certainly very helpful. All right, we will now take the matter into committee. Members of the committee, any comments? I see none. All right, if there are no comments, please proceed. I just want to check if there are any urban forestry comments. I do not see any. Okay, perfect. So members of the committee, motion please. Okay, Member Said, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Yasu, for giving the valid and genuine reasons as far as the use is concerned. So I support that. Madam Chair, I will move the motion for approval of item number 1, subject to the conditions of community planning.
Of? Conditions of?
Community planning.
Oh, okay, thank you. All right, sorry, I didn't hear that. Maybe there was a glitch. All right, so we have a motion on the floor to approve the application subject to conditions of community planning staff report. May I have a seconder, please? Member Macaulay, please go ahead.
I will second that motion.
Thank you. All in favor of this motion? The motion is carried and the application has been approved subject to the condition. Thank you. We will now move to item number 2. Item number 2 is for 45 Red Deer Avenue. This is an application to construct a detached garage at the rear of an existing detached dwelling. And we have with us Trevor Gain. All right.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello?
Thank you, Trevor.
Good morning.
Good morning. Members of the committee, we have Trevor with us for 45 Red Deer Avenue, and we have before us 2 variances. Trevor, would you like to say something or make a presentation?
I think the application is pretty straightforward, but I'll just kind of highlight, this is just the rebuilding of an existing rear yard garage. The existing garage in the submitted photographs on file, it was just too close to the house and too long, and so unable to accommodate the house additions that were under construction, we had to take it down and come back to the committee to get it rebuilt. 2 variances, pretty minor coverage, and the last one regarding soft landscaping at a 1% deficiency, which is even more minor. That's more of a technicality. If we do want to look at the photographs, there's a rear deck off the back of the house, which is sitting on sonotubes. It's framed, it's elevated, so the soft landscaping does extend underneath this deck in terms of like some river rock or something. So as far as absorption and softness, there's more than enough there, but of course in plan, they just look at the footprint, so the deck sort of detracts from the overall soft. But all in all, pretty minor, and we seek your approval.
Thank you, Trevor. Members of the committee, any questions for Trevor? Member Macaulay, please go ahead.
Yes, Trevor, thank you for that information. What was the size of the original garage that you're replacing?
It was, I don't have that right in front of me, but it was about another 8 feet longer than what we're proposing, because it was pretty much about 10 feet away from the original dwelling. And then our rear addition was about 12 feet off the back of the house, so it kind of overlapped, so we had to push it back. So the overall footprint is marginally smaller than what was there originally.
So you're telling me that the overall footprint of the garage is smaller than the original garage?
That's correct.
Then why is the variance necessary?
Because we had to take the garage down. When we take it down, the bylaw applies to rebuild it. So we demolished that garage for a couple of reasons. One, it was just poorly built, so it was kind of falling around, and and it was also too long. It was too close to the dwelling. So when we added our rear additions to the house, it was in the way.
Okay, so as I understand, then it's really the addition to the house that starts to make you over coverage once you rebuild the garage. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, depending on how you look at it, but yeah, either we kept the original garage and the house additions would have been smaller. We opted to try to maximize our space for the family to include family rooms, bedrooms, whatever. And then it turned out they wanted to put the garage back for storage and typical outside amenity use and parking. So we elected to come back to the committee to seek approval.
Okay, thank you for that explanation.
Thank you, Member Macaulay. Any further questions for Trevor? I see none. Trevor, before I take the matter into committee, any closing remarks?
No, I have none at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Members of the committee, we now take the matter into committee for discussion or a motion. Any comments? Member Saeed.
It's not a comment or question, Madam Chair. I wanted to move the motion if the
Sure.
Please
go ahead.
Other members are okay. Okay. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Yeah, this is a pretty straightforward application. I feel both the variances are minor, and I put forward a motion for approval of item number 2, and I don't see there is any conditions attached to that.
Okay, thank you. May I have a seconder, please? Member Macaulay.
I will second that motion.
Thank you. Member Macaulay seconds the motion. All in favor of the motion? The motion is carried and the application for 45 Red Deer Avenue has been approved without any conditions. Thank you, Trevor. We now move to item number 3. For item number 3, we have Dimitri or Jim Bazios. Is Jim Bazios with us? Jim?
Yes, I'm here. Hello,
Okay.
good morning.
No problem. Thank you very much. So, committee members, item number 3 is for 24 Tarjay Place. It is a minor variance application to construct a new 2-story detached garage in the rear yard. The application was deferred at the July 23rd, 2020 meeting. There were concerns from planning staff, revisions have been made, and the owner wishes to return to the committee. We have before us 5 variances. Jim, would you like to make a presentation?
Yes. Is it possible to share the screen? I want to show the photographs, or that's not allowed?
Sure. Okay. So we can certainly help you with that, and you have 5 minutes.
Okay, the button is grayed out for the share.
I think, is that the presentation that we, no. Just bear with me. So staff, if he wants to share the presentation, how would he do it? He hasn't sent us anything. Jim, you haven't sent us a presentation in advance, right?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Okay, then unfortunately we won't be able to
Okay.
share your presentation.
Okay, that's fine. So basically, there's an existing garage on site. It's falling apart. It was built, I don't know, at least 40 years ago. The roof is leaking. It's in really bad shape. It's really an eyesore. The owner is my client. He's a locksmith, so he needs this second floor storage area because he has a lot of equipment, locks primarily, and he needs the storage. So that's what this second floor space loft will be used for primarily. It's not a living space. There will be no other living accommodations, just for storage purposes only. There's an internal stair that was one of the items that we adjusted. Originally it was outside. We were proposing. We moved it inside. So basically, the garage right now is the existing garage is falling apart. It's an eyesore and all that. So and the owner had some damage to some of his blocks a few months ago from a leaky roof. So he's at a crossroads where he needs to fix this garage. So basically, we're keeping the same footprint as the existing in terms of the length. It's a bit wider. than what is the what we're proposing is going to be a little wider, about 1.2 meters wider, but it's going to be the same length. Um, and the garage right now that we're proposing is, well, the existing garage also is basically set back from the street over 20 meters. So it's basically secluded, it's out of sight, basically. So it's not an issue, we feel. Um, the idea or the issue of second floor and over a garage is a very common thing lately with laneway houses, which have been approved by the Committee of Adjustment. So we feel like this is really not a unique situation. It's quite common for laneway houses, right? So again, as I said, the owner's a locksmith. He needs that additional space for storage. Um, the garage is basically the design of it. The front elevation is in keeping with the neighborhood. It's not out of character with the neighborhood. The design fits within what a garage looks like. It's just going to be a little taller, um, obviously because we need that loft space. And again, it's set back from the street. Neighbor number 22, which is just to the east of our project, he's built a second floor addition. Um, so his house actually is taller than our garage. Um, so we don't, again, it's not from a visual point of view, from the streetscape. What we're proposing is nothing different. Um, and no trees will be impacted. Everything will be done without any impact to any landscaping, trees, etc. So that's basically it. It's just we feel it's very similar project to other projects for laneway houses that have been already approved, and the house and the garage that we're proposing is set back from the street over 20 meters, so it's quite hidden away. And it's falling apart right now. So it's going to improve the look of the neighborhood if we fix this. So that's all I ask. If you can approve this, please.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Jim. Are you aware of the community planning staff report and the recommendation in the staff report?
Yeah, they were concerned about the height primarily, right?
Okay, but you're aware that they are recommending refusal of the variances?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes, I have. Yeah.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to make sure you've had a chance to review the report and understand the recommendation. Okay,
Yes,
thank you.
yes, I
Okay.
have.
Anything
Okay.
further before I go to the committee?
No, that's it.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
So members of the committee, we have Jim here who explained his application and sort of gave some background on the history. Any questions for Jim? Member Said and then Member Macaulay.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Jim, for providing the background of this application, which apparently it looked like there is not any changes. The committee considered this case last year in July, and it was deferred. The applicant agreed to that to bring some changes there. When I look at the current application, all the things, whether it's dimension or height or stories, everything remains the same. And I don't see much difference between the previous application, which was in July 2020, and the current application. So could you just highlight, is there
Yep.
is any changes you have made there?
Yes, we have. There's been some important changes which were required by or requested by the planning department. One was the original application had an exterior stair, so we took that out and we moved it inside. So that's a big change. And then the other thing is we reduced the square meters of the loft because it's a sloping roof. We closed down part of the floor, because it's inaccessible, right, for headroom purposes. In the original application, I had accounted for the whole area of the second floor, including that slope portion which had a headroom issue. Now we have vertical, walls there to block it off. So we reduced the square meters of the second floor loft. So those were the big changes: the exterior stair, and we reduced the square meters of the space upstairs. In terms of the height, obviously we can't do anything because we need that height, obviously, for moving around. Those were so basically those were the two main important changes we made. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Member Macaulay, please go ahead.
Thank you. Um, to the applicant, I noticed that you've got a two-story garage here, and you have said that the second story is going to be used for storage of the locksmith equipment. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Will it be used for any other use than storage?
No, there's not going to be any. We're not proposing any plumbing or anything else like that. It's just going to be basically a storage space. The owner
Okay, and
needs that. Yeah.
then my question comes, why are you including windows on that second floor?
Well, when you're up there, it's a safety issue, right? To prevent any accidents, whatever. So it's natural daylight. You know, we don't want to have. You know, we can have lights, obviously, but it's just more for safety, I would say. You know, it's a safety issue. Otherwise, it's going to feel claustrophobic when you're up there. So.
Well, I think the concern is that you'll be using the second floor of that garage not just for storage, but for other uses. And to a certain extent, you have indicated that that's part of what is happening in the community where they're encouraging secondary dwellings.
No, I'm talking about the height because that was one of the variances we're requesting, right? So other than that, if it's a problem to remove the window, we'll take it out. I mean, it's not an issue. It's more for safety, like I said. And, it's in keeping with the look of the neighborhood. You know. So.
Okay. So you would agree, if we approve this, you would agree to remove the windows, and then
Sure.
you will build in accordance with the plans that you have submitted, with the exception of the windows on the second floor. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes, yeah. If that's what is required, we'll take out the windows and we'll sign off that this will only be used as storage, just like we've noted on there.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you, Member Macaulay. Any further questions? I see none. All right. So, Jim, any closing remarks before we take the matter into committee for a decision?
No, it's just the existing garage right now is falling apart. It's deteriorated. So this will be a great improvement for the neighborhood to have this fixed up. That's all.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. So we now take the matter into committee. Committee members, any comments? Okay. I see none. There are no comments. May I please have a motion?
Madam Chair, I will recommend approval of this garage, approval of the variance for the garage, subject to the deletion of the windows on the second floor as shown on drawing 5A, sorry, A5 and A6. And that would all be subject to approval of community planning.
No,
Through the chair, you cannot do that. It's you cannot impose a condition subject to another division unless the other division has imposed it.
So as you heard from
Okay.
staff,
I'll
we
delete
cannot.
my
Sorry? We lost your voice, Member Macaulay.
I will delete my motion.
So would you put forward a revised motion? Or are you withdrawing your motion?
I'm withdrawing my motion.
Okay, all right. So Member Macaulay had a motion. The motion had some concerns. Now I am looking for a motion on this application. Member Taylor.
Madam Chair, I find the application as submitted is reasonable, and that the variances are satisfy the four tests under the Planning Act. So I would move for approval without conditions.
Thank you, Member Taylor. May I have a seconder, please? Member Macaulay seconds the motion. Please go ahead, Member Macaulay. You're on mute.
I will second the motion.
All right, Member Macaulay seconds the motion. All in favor of this motion? All in favor of this motion? All opposed? Okay, so I have to break the tie, and I will go in favor of the motion. So the motion's carried, and the application has been approved, and there are no conditions. Thank you. So Jim, your application has been approved. Thank you. We now go to item number 4. Item number 4 is 151 Nantucket Boulevard. 151 Nantucket Boulevard, minor variance application to seek relief from the zoning bylaw to convert the existing mixed-use industrial and automotive repair building. And we have with us Andrew Marshall as the agent. Andrew, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. Andrew, so we have your application before us, and there is one requested variance for the number of parking spaces. Would you like to make a presentation?
Please.
Please go ahead, and you have 5 minutes.
Thank you. This is an application, is kind of going back to a previously approved Committee of Adjustment back in 2008, where we had increased the number of automotive use units in the building. The committee at that time had approved the number of units for a 5-year period. Unfortunately, when that period was up, for whatever reason, I'm not sure whether it was the owners or myself, it got forgotten about. And we only recently, in the last couple of years, realized that when one of our long-term tenants had left, a new tenant came in, and we were looking to re-up the licensing. They said, "Oh yeah, your approval has expired." My involvement actually with this property goes back to roughly 25 years. Because of the small units, there's a specialty in terms of how these units work, and basically their need for parking is not very large. Pretty much all of this has been outlined in the parking study that we did in 2008, and most recently. Hopefully the committee members have had a chance to look at that. We have worked with planning and transportation works, and at this point they have no objection. So basically what we're here today is to increase from what we were previously approved in 2008 for a total of 18 units, automotive use, and 2 industrial, to having the entire building now all permitted for automotive use. There is no new building area proposed. It's basically all existing units, and the history of this building is there hasn't been any issues with transportation works or parking issues or anything like that. The owners have had the same property management family over 25 years at this point too. So there's a long history of this use on the property. So we think, the parking study pretty much spells out what the history of the project is. Hopefully you've had a chance to read that. And other than that, I think everything is self-explanatory.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. Members of the committee, any questions for Andrew? Member McKay, please go ahead.
Yes, Andrew, just going back then to that 2008 use and temporary. How many parking spaces were associated with that approval?
The exact same number. There's been no increase or decrease in the number of parking spaces. The only thing that happened at the 2008, we had a reduction of 2 units that were used for parking previously. So we actually had a reduction of overall site parking approval. Sorry, we had a reduction of 7 parking spaces, which were used internally um, at that time. Basically, the internal parking spaces, which we had been approved with our Ontario Municipal Board application many years before, they became problematic. Whether it was a maintenance issue, an insurance issue, it just became problematic over the years. So there's actually, at this point, there's no change to how as it was previously approved in 2008 for parking on the site.
Is that good? Member McKay? We can't hear you, Member McKay.
Sorry, you're right. So there are 66 spaces currently. That's what you're providing.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know the particular site, but my only concern here is about sufficient parking spaces for the automotive uses, because if there's overflow, presumably that's got to go to the street. So I just
Well,
wondered.
there
Go ahead.
there really isn't street parking because the nature of, and this is all outlined in the parking report that I submitted. Because of the nature of these units, they're very small units. People come, have their work done, and basically stick around, and then they drive off. A lot of it might be a automotive reseller. They'll come and get some tires put on. They basically stay there for an hour and drive away. A short tune-up or something like that. Effectively, the parking is increased by the number of cars that are inside the units in terms of where they're working. And there really is seldom actually that many cars that are outside in terms of storage. Cars might be on the lot maybe 2 or 3 hours at best.
Member McKay, we can't hear you. Yes.
Sorry. I appreciate that explanation. That's all I had. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Member McKay. Yes, Member Said, you can now go.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Andrew, from your elaboration on the parking point, you said there has been not a change, but I am looking at the history, like starting right from 2008, there have been 2 units which were preserved regularly to keep some parking spots safe, right? From 16 to 18 industrial unit, then from 18 to now it's going to be 100% 20. All of them are industrial units. So the 2 units which were reserved actually have a parking for 7 parking spots. So if this is going to be 100% industrial units, don't you think these parking spots, the number of these parking spots are going to be affected by that?
No, because those parking units were removed in 2008. So for a 5-year test period, we actually operated completely successful legally without those units having parking. Those units actually were only for parking between, I believe it's roughly 1997 and 2008, so roughly a 10-year period. And as I said, they became problematic. Between 2008, legally 5 years, the property still existed with 18 units in automotive and 2 industrial for that entire time, and there continued to be no issues with parking. Between roughly, let's say, 2013 and today, many of those units, those parking spaces were still not in use. And I can't tell you whether how many automotive use units we had, because the licenses were renewed and nobody said anything as far as zoning until about 2 years ago. And so we were basically waiting until kind of things were cleared up with the old bylaw and the new bylaw being in place. So going back to at least 2008, those units, that parking has disappeared.
And you are right. Like in 2008, there were 16 units and 2 additional were added, bringing the total number to 18.
18.
Yes, and that was for a period of 5 years. Nobody returned
Yes.
after 5 years, license expired. So that is one issue.
Yeah.
At this point of time, the total number of industrial unit is increasing from 18 to 20.
Yes.
Is that correct? So
Yes.
if it is correct, now this is a new development. So the number of industrial units are increasing at this point
No,
of time.
no. There's no increase in industrial units. Automotive.
So what's the total number of industrial units,
Zero.
automated units?
0. It has actually become problematic to release those spaces for small industrial because that type of industry has basically disappeared. Whereas small automotive use, where one guy can basically go in and work on some cars, that demand has increased.
Okay.
Thank you, Andrew.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Member Said. Andrew, are you aware of the TTC memo just for advisory comments only?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
kind of, yeah, there's no impact.
Okay, no, I just wanted to make sure that you acknowledged
Yes.
that you have
Yes.
received those and okay.
And I did also see the letter of a neighbor who objected, and I guess somebody for some reason has been driving up his driveway to unload oil, and I'm going to pass that on to the owners and my property manager and have that immediately stopped.
Okay, that would be really appreciated. Okay, so again, just on record, we did receive that letter and it's on file, and I'm glad you've acknowledged that and you will take some action. Thank you.
Yes.
Any further questions for Andrew? I see none. Andrew, before we take the matter into committee, any closing remarks?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Through the chair, I just wanted to, staff have indicated that there was a transportation services memo on, I guess, for this application where transportation indicated they have no objections to it. I'm trying to find the memo. I believe it's on the application information center. We could share our screen.
Okay, thank you. That would be helpful. So members of the
Yeah,
committee, we see the screen here, and this is a memo from transportation. Is it transportation? Yes. Okay, development planning and review. Okay, and basically, they have no objection to the above noted application. So they've reviewed the application, and they have no objection. Thank you, staff, for bringing this to our attention. Okay, thank you. All right, before I take the matter into committee, and Andrew, any closing remarks?
No.
Okay, thank you very much. We now take the matter into committee. Committee members, any comments or further thoughts? Okay, I see none. May I have a motion, please? Member Saeed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I put forward the motion for approval of application number 4, and there is no conditions attached to that.
All right, thank you. We have a motion on the floor to approve item number 4 for 151 Nantucket Boulevard. Seconder, Member McKay.
Yes, Madam Chair. I second that motion for approval, and yes, I see no conditions such as urban forestry. So I second that motion to approve.
Thank you. All in favor of this motion? Motion's carried. The application for item 4 has been approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. We will now move to item number 5. Item number 5 is 1882 Lawrence Avenue. A minor variance application before us to permit the construction of a second-story addition for office uses to the existing commercial building that's currently being used for vehicle sales and for the operation of vehicle sales and vehicle repair. We have with us the agent, John Carlos. John, you're with us?
Yes, I am.
All right. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly.
It's John Carlos Sulfides.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, John. Um, would you like to make a presentation, John, to the committee?
Yes.
Please.
Yes, if
Okay.
I may. Madam
Sure,
Chair.
please go ahead, and you have
Uh,
5 minutes.
Great. This is a pretty straightforward application. My clients are just looking for additional office space. It's a growing business, which is good in these challenging times of the pandemic. So all they're looking for is to add 3 offices over the second floor of their detailing bay. This is not uncommon. As a matter of fact, the property right beside them has the same second floor, ironically for the same use for office space. They are in support of the application, our neighbors to the east, our neighbors to the west. I believe that's an 8-story apartment building. The variances we are seeking are actually very straightforward. One concerns the neighbor to the east who's supportive of our application, and the other is just to formally enshrine the use, the existing use, which has been going on for over 20 years, of an auto dealership. And that's all we are seeking. We believe that we are certainly in keeping with the character and content of the neighborhood. The massing is not going to be an issue. We are set back, which is always good. And we have had extensive discussions with Deputy Mayor Thompson's office and I believe we have resolved the concerns of his office, and that was to have 4 dedicated parking spots for customers and 3 dedicated spots for staff, which we can easily accommodate, and we will.
Okay, thank you. I have a question, and then I appreciate you taking, you're making an effort to address some of the concerns that have been raised. Um, you indicate there's staff parking and some customer parking, and then there's 2 new driveways coming onto the side. Has this been reviewed by anyone? Like, I mean, in providing or
Okay, let me
introducing
just correct you
driveways.
there, Madam Chair.
Sorry?
Yeah, well, they're not new. They're existing driveways. They're not new. We're not proposing any new driveways at all.
Oh,
They are
okay.
existing driveways.
What about the trees?
The trees is soft landscaping. Again, Deputy Mayor Thompson's office would like to see some soft landscaping along the Gooderham Drive flankage. We have no problem with that.
Okay. And you're introducing customer parking and dedicated staff parking. Do you think that's going to conflict with any requirements of landscaping on the site?
Not at all, because that would be within the property. The landscaping, what the deputy mayor's office was asking is that we put some shrubbery on the city boulevard, just to kind of, I suppose, soften the look.
No, I'm sort of sorry if I wasn't clear. My question is, you're indicating staff parking and customer parking, and you're introducing it within the existing landscaping areas. Do you think that is going to trigger or impact any existing landscaping requirements on the private property?
No, we do not believe that because we're just going to be reapportioning existing spaces.
So you don't think it's going to impact any zoning requirements for landscaping?
We do not believe that because they're already parking spaces. We will just now have them dedicated, lined, and signed appropriately as customer parking and as staff parking.
Okay, all right, thank you. I just needed that clarification. Appreciate that. All right.
Thank you.
Members of the committee, any questions for Jean Carlos? I see none. Okay. Jean, we will now, before I take the matter into committee, any closing remarks?
Just to let the committee know, Madam Chair, and by the way, excuse me, I should have said good morning. I know it's been a bit of a challenging morning with all the technical issues, so pardon me for that. In conclusion, I just want to say my clients live in the area and they're very appreciative and sensitive to the need to have proper decorum. There are a number of dealerships in that block alone, from Gooderham to Eleanor. There's 3 car dealerships. And we're sensitive to that, and that's why we're more than happy to abide by the deputy mayor's request for some soft landscaping along Gooderham. They live in the area, and they want to make sure it stays as nice as we can possibly make it.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, I take the matter into committee now. Members of the committee, any comments? Any discussion? Member Saeed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a comment on that. It's a good thing that the applicant is voluntarily offering to have 7 parking spots there. And what my thought was that perhaps these are going to be new parking spots, whatever they are in. But as John was telling, it is a repositioning of already the existing parking. Now, Madam Chair, over here, I haven't got any parking comments, or I don't know what's the parking space available there is, because the overall view is that the area is already, there is a shortage of parking, and visitors and staff are parking on the streets. So by repositioning the existing parking spot won't solve the issue. It's just like the parking spots are already there for some other purpose. They are occupied there, but now they will be marked as used for this particular thing, which is not going to add anything to resolve the parking issue in that area, unless John could have further elaborated that point. I think at this point, I am not fully of the committee members, so I would like to have their deliberations on that. We don't have much information about the parking conditions there.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? All right, I see none. So now so there are no further comments, and I would like to have a motion, please, at this time. Member Taylor, please go ahead.
Madam Chair, I find the requested variances to be in keeping with the 4 tests under the Planning Act, and I move approval without conditions. I would add a comment with respect to the communications that have taken place between John Carlos and the Deputy Mayor's office, that I'm not prepared to implement any of what they've been discussing. This is an unconditional approval that I'm recommending, and I would suggest that it's up to John Carlos and the Deputy Mayor's office to sort out whatever they believe is appropriate. But I'm reluctant. I'm not prepared to incorporate any of that detail into my recommendation for approval.
Okay, thank you, Member Taylor. So we have a motion on the floor to approve the application as presented, and there are no conditions. May I have a seconder, please? Member McKay.
Yes, Madam Chair, I'll second that approval of the application as it is before us.
Thank you. We have a seconder. Member McKay seconds the motion. All in favor of this motion? All opposed? Okay, so Member Said opposes the motion, but the motion is carried. John Carlos, your application has been approved.
Through the chair, just a question of clarification. In terms of the approval, is the approval based on the plans received January 17th, 2021? Or are they based on the handwritten plan that was submitted by the applicant? I think you need to clarify that.
My understanding is that Member Taylor was pretty clear in
Okay,
terms of
fair
the
enough.
application, the original application as presented.
Excellent, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I think but that was good observation. So staff just wanted to make sure that we were, and again, it's not the drawing, it's the variances, right? So the motion.
That is true. Thank you for that clarification.
All
Madam
right.
Chair, I would happily affirm your interpretation of my intent.
Thank you, Member Taylor. Appreciate that. So I think we're pretty good. The motion was carried, the application was approved, and we did seek some clarification on that. So that's great. So John Carlos, the application's approved. Thank you. We now move to item number 6, and item number 6 is 20 Woodland Park Road, an application to permit the construction of a new two-story dwelling, and we have before us, 8 variances. So there's a list of people who have registered. We have the agent here with us, Ian Robertson. Ian, you with us?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. Just bear with us for a moment. I will do a roll call for all the other registered speakers. Dennis Rushforth and Cheryl Trudgett. Okay, so Dennis Rushforth and Cheryl Trudgett, you have not joined. If you still wish to speak, please try to connect in the next few minutes. Laura Smith? Laura, you with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, we can barely hear you. Your voice is quite faint. So you're gonna be. We will come back to you, but try to increase your audio if possible. We have Sean Godet and Kate Godet. Sean and Kate, are you with us?
Yes, good morning. I'm here.
Good morning. Thank you. Just stay with us for a moment, please. Jackie Mazer and Jeff Gastman, and I understand you are going to be speaking separately. So I'll first go with Jackie Mazer. You're with us?
Yes, I am. And sorry, good morning, committee. Just to confirm that my husband Jeff will be speaking on for both of us.
Okay, so Jeff Gassman will be speaking for both yourself and him. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, and
sorry, apologies, committee. Is it possible to bring our neighbor in? They're having difficulty connecting. Can they speak from our laptop here?
Who is the neighbor here?
Cheryl and Dennis.
Cheryl and Dennis. Okay. Oh, who were not available. Okay. Yeah, sure.
Exactly.
They've registered, so they can certainly use your facilities to speak to us. No problem.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
No problem. So just bear with us for a moment. We will start with the application. So Ian. So Ian, would you like to make a presentation to the committee?
Yes, I would.
Okay, please go ahead.
All right. So
You have 5 minutes,
Ian
sir.
Robertson.
I just wanted to make sure you have 5 minutes.
Yes, that's correct. Thank you, Madam Chair. So my name is Ian Robertson. I'm the agent acting on behalf of the owner for this application. I just wanted to discuss the application to the committee, explain our position on this, and how we meet the 4 tests of the Planning Act. We start with the official plan, and with review of the official plan, we find that we comply based on a number of items and points. 4.1 sentence 5, maintaining height and massing of dwellings. We believe we comply with that in our proposal. Building type being single detached follows the suit of the area as they are single detached primarily. Elevations and design relative to grades and driveways from the same sentence 5. We've maintained similarities and consistency throughout the street and setbacks to adjacent streets and buildings. We've also maintained those and are in excess of all of our setbacks on our property. In addition to that, prevailing patterns for rear and side yard setbacks, as well as landscape and open space. Our building and proposal exceeds all landscaping open space. We also exceed all of our side yards and rear yard setbacks, maintaining consistency throughout the street. In addition to that, from section 4.1 sentence 9 of the OP, discussing of infill developments, similar properties such as height, massing, scale, respective to consistent existing structures. Our 2-story house would be consistent with that, including the design vernacular of that of a Victorian style house. As you can see, there's lots of peaks and gables across the street, up and down our streets, as well as the adjacent neighborhoods, and providing adequate sunlight and privacy for adjacent properties. While our house and proposal is to increase our FSI, we do still maintain all of our setbacks, front, sides, and rear, as well as our building depth, but for one minor 0.42 increase in depth. So we believe we meet the official plan and the requirements for test number 1. Test number 2 is the general intent of the bylaw. We believe we follow that as well as our proposal, and variances are minor. Minor length extension in our building depth is a small increase. We comply and exceed all of our setbacks. Our ground floor height is under the maximum allowable. We exceed all of our landscaping, hard and soft requirements, front yard and rear yard. And our 2-story dwelling is consistent with the zoning bylaw for this particular area. So again, I believe we meet the general intent of the zoning bylaw, even with the variances that we are requesting. Thirdly, is this desirable to the lands proposed? And again, we believe it is desirable to the area as it does follow many consistencies in the neighborhood. Again, we are 2 stories. We have a pitched roof. We follow similar architectural stylings and vernacular of the street, and we believe our massing is similar and traditional and consistent overall. This house, this property itself warrants a new development of the 2-story nature, and we believe we've improved the property by increasing our setbacks along the north side, as well as
30 seconds left.
Sorry, how long?
30 seconds.
Okay. And we believe our the 4th test would be is this proposal minor in nature? And while we do have a larger FSI than the bylaw allows, the remainder of our variances are very minor. Parking space reduction, overhangs, repaired walls are all 2.3, 2.6, 2.7%. And even our building height, although we are over by 13% or 48 inches, this is mainly due to the gradient of the road being reduced by 2 feet from left to right.
Okay.
So our overall roof height would be not quite as drastic as this would.
Okay, thank you, Ian. Thank you very much. I appreciate your comments. It's just that I have to be, watching the clock for fairness to everyone. So thank you very much. I'm sure there will be some questions that committee will have for you, and then there may be an opportunity to answer more. So members of the committee, any questions for Ian at this time? Okay, I see none. So no questions at this time. Thank you. Please stay with us, Ian. We will now move to our speakers registered here. So I will go with Dennis Rushforth and Cheryl Trudgett. Are you with us, Dennis and Cheryl?
I'm with you, Cheryl. We're having technical difficulties of our own today, so I've gone to next door neighbors to speak.
Okay, all right. So would you be speaking and Dennis will not be joining you today?
Dennis will not be speaking today.
Okay, thank you, Cheryl. So please go ahead and then let us know what your concerns are. You have 5 minutes.
Morning, and thank you for this opportunity. Over the years, my husband and I have welcomed many new homes that have been constructed on this street. We believe that these homes have added to the diverse appearance and attractiveness of the area. And all of the plans approved to date have recognized the need for reasonable limits on house size, lot coverage, and consistency with the character of the street. It's our submission, along with those of our neighbors, that there are serious concerns and negative impacts of the proposed new house, specifically those related to its placement and configuration. Regarding placement, plans call for the house to be situated south from its current footprint, changing the setbacks on both the north and the south sides. The new house will be substantially closer to number 18 and will have window wells as well as an AC unit and exhaust pipes next to number 20. These are problematic and could be avoided with a more suitable placement and configuration. Regarding configuration, Dennis and I are retirees. We spend almost every day sometime on our patio and in the backyard in both warmer seasons and at cooler times. As with most houses on the street, it's possible from the back of our house to view greenery and trees along property lines, which contributes to our enjoyment of being outside. However, with this proposal, the immediate backdrop to our yard and others nearby would be a 25-foot long visual barrier. That includes 15 feet of the 30-foot tall house wall, plus a 10-foot extension to that length in the form of a terrace with a half wall and a trellis on top. That 10-foot extension is attached to that house and is not included in the overall length of the plan. Many backyards along the street will be negatively affected by this as well. Also, the inclusion of window wells by moving the footprint of the house may result in a safety issue for us and others who use our walkway or patio. We would welcome a new house next door, provided the placement, size, and lot coverage is respectful of this particular neighborhood, the Woodland Park environment, the people who live here, and their properties. To date, these principles have guided the building of a number of new houses on this side of the street, and we believe these limits that have proven effective should continue to guide this particular proposal. For these reasons, we respectfully request that the application be declined. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cheryl, for your comments and concerns raised. Members of the committee, do you have any questions for Cheryl? I see none. All right, Cheryl, thank you for your time. We will now proceed and speak with Laura Smith. Laura, are you with us?
Since that person is, I'll leave it up to you, whether you want to, because those people are in the same house,
Oh,
you may want to do them, you may want to switch the order. I'll leave it up to you.
oh, I see. Okay, that's what you mean. So basically, we speak with Jackie and Jeff, or Jackie.
Yes.
Okay. All right. If that's okay with the committee members, so staff pointed out that both Cheryl and Jackie are together because they're sharing the same connection. If that's okay with you, can we move and speak with Jackie, please, at this time? Okay, I'm getting a thumbs up for most of the members, so that's good. All right, so Jackie, you're with us now? All right.
Hi, it's Jeff.
Oh, Jeff, sorry.
Sure. Okay, good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to express our concern with the
Please, you have 5 minutes, so it's over to you now.
owners of Woodland Park Road, which is immediately to the south of the proposed build that would be best suited to a suburban to accommodate such an elaborately large home. The building's footprint exceeds any other footprint for a 35 lot and is approved. The proposed development would create a precedent allowing other developments to greater encroachment and diminish the character of the neighborhood. We consider our backyard to be an oasis in the city. When we are sitting on our deck, we have a wonderful view of the surrounding to the west.
Sorry,
Sorry?
Jeff, we're getting a interruption. Can you check, or maybe you can speak louder?
I can speak louder.
Okay, because it kind of faints and then comes back, so.
All right, sorry.
That's okay.
So as I was saying, we can see trees to the north and to the south and to the west. Currently, all that will change if the proposed development is approved. Instead of trees and monstrous 30-foot high brick wall extending 15 feet past the back of our
We're losing you, Jeff.
Half of that will be the additional 10-foot permanent structure of a terrace, complete with a concrete pad, stone walls at its base, louvered walls, and a roof to a height of 12 to 15 feet. And I think that that should be considered as part of the 17-meter building, which it currently is not. We also enjoy our 24 square foot window, which provides us with natural light during the day and a view of the sky. Build goes ahead as submitted, we will see nothing but a brick wall. This is because the south wall will be only 32 inches, eaves extending even closer, 2.3 inches, to our property line. The eaves are a concern due to the possible falling snow and ice in the winter causing damage to our house. The plans, uncharacteristically, have a 4-foot setback on the north side of the house, where all the west side houses have a south side setback behind the garage. If you're able to bring up the image 3 on page 4 of our submission.
Okay, I will just, sorry, just caution you, Jeff, I'll give you another 30 seconds to wrap up, just because there were some glitches there. So 30 seconds more and please wrap up.
Okay. So the aerial view just showing with how all the other houses have an indent on the south side behind the garage, which this house will not, as well as the way the house will go further back than all the other houses, which are pretty much in a straight line. This will add 25 feet past the. Many of the rebuilds on the west side were able to accomplish beautiful builds with no need to upset their nearby neighbors. So we
Okay.
request that you. Sorry.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. I'm not sure, but we were getting some interruptions there. But I think we got the gist of most of what you said. Members of the committee, any questions for Jeff? I see none. All right, thank you, Jeff. Please stay with us. There are no
There seems
questions.
to be one raised hand.
There was one raised hand? Oh, Member Macaulay. Oh, that's a good catch. Go ahead, Member Macaulay.
I believe you can hear me. This is a question.
Yes.
This is a question to Jeff. On the drawing that you submitted on page 161, where you show the houses and you show the indent, I noticed that there's a house to the south that doesn't have any indents. Can you tell me roughly when was that? Is that a new build to that area?
It does have an indent. If you're looking at 16 Woodland Park.
Yes, I believe that's the one I'd be looking at.
That does have a slight indent and it has behind the garage.
Okay, I see that. And that house, unlike most of the houses in the area, is a little bit longer than the houses adjacent to it, and similarly, the length of the proposed house. What I was asking, is that a new build, fairly
Yes.
new to the area?
Yes, it is, but that extension at the back is actually a second floor cantilever balcony. It doesn't go all the way down to the ground level.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. No more questions, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Member Macaulay. I'll just request the committee members to, when I call for comments or questions, please try to raise your hand as early as possible, because it's a little bit of a trick to go back and forth between screens and my screen. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate your comments and time. I will now move to the next speaker. I guess I'm not sure, Jackie wanted to speak as well? Or
No, yes, Madam Speaker. Jeff spoke on our behalf. I believe it's Sean that's now would like to speak?
With you?
No, he's on his own connection.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I will go through the list. I just wanted to make sure if you wanted to speak as well. Okay, thank you so much for that, for clarification.
Thank you.
So now we will go in the order that we originally had on our list. So Laura Smith was the next one on my list. Laura,
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me okay now?
we can hear you very well. Please go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
Great. Good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Actually, good afternoon. Good day. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today in opposition to 20 Woodland Park Road. My husband and I have been here for 19 years, lived here for 19 years. We've renovated our own home from a bungalow to a two-story dwelling. In doing so, we got the approval of neighbors and considered what had been done to other homes in keeping with the character of the neighborhood. We did not extend the rear of our home, again, in keeping with existing homes that had already been done. One of the draws to this neighborhood is clearly the green space that is created with the backyards, as you've heard from my neighbors. From our backyards, we have views of trees, greenery, wildlife. It really is a very special pocket. This is specifically important on the west side of Woodland Park, which is where we are. We have access to all-day sun. Neighbors have created backyard spaces to grow gardens, enjoy the sun and the sunsets. This development will impede the views of neighbors and their enjoyment of the spaces they have created. In proposing a 15-foot extension beyond the current footprint into the backyard, this home removes the views of neighbors and impedes on privacy. The addition of a 10-foot deck with fencing further extends the main floor of the house. Because of the permanent nature of the deck and the proposed elevation, it should be considered as part of the home footprint. The combination of home and deck creates an overwhelming structural mass inconsistent with the established buildings on Woodland. Specific to this point, there have been 8 renovated homes along the west side of Woodland Park Road, and all adhere to the established rear footprints of the neighborhood with only minor variation. The 2 homes that extended modestly were designed in collaboration with their neighbors. That is 8 of the 13 homes that financially committed to the design characteristics of the neighborhood. We attended Committee of Adjustments last summer about one of the remaining 5 unrenovated homes on the west side of the street. We opposed it because it was so out of character and would set a precedent that would have a negative impact to the already renovated homes as well as residents without renovation plans. Following this opposition, a design was submitted with a 6-foot extension on the main floor and an 8-foot cantilever on the second story. This plan was approved by the committee. This approval is more than anyone has received on the west side of Woodland Park Road just a mere 8 months ago. While we didn't oppose the modified plans, we didn't support them. We couldn't support them as it is still going to affect us in a negative way. It is still taking away views from us. It was a major increase to any prior approved plans and would set yet another precedent to be used to justify any more out-of-place proposals in the future, which is where we are now. The important point we need to make is while there may be some one-off projects located blocks away or on other streets that aim to establish support for this proposal, there are 8 of 13 homes in immediate proximity to the subject that clearly establishes the neighborhood built form. Specifically, that puts a higher precedence on maintaining the rear footprint of houses and does not cut off sight lines between neighbors. We're asking that what gets approved here in committee today be no more than the variances that were approved 8 months ago on a comparable home. The rear addition should not exceed more than 6 feet on the main floor and 8 feet on the top floor. The variances requested here today for 20 Woodland Park Road are major. They're asking for more than any other home on this side of Woodland Park Road. The impact of these variances will have a lasting and negative impact on the neighborhood. The variances do not adhere to the official plan. The variances requested here today are not minor in nature. They are major increases to the established built structures and therefore should not be supported. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Laura, for your presentation, and you've articulated your concerns very well. Members of the committee, any questions for Laura? Last call, any questions? Okay, I see none. Thank you very much. We now move to our next speaker, Sean and Kate.
Good afternoon. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we
Chair?
can hear you. Please go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Excellent. I will be brief. So my name is Sean Godet, the owner of 24 Woodland Park Road, which is 2 houses north of this proposed development. I share the concerns that have been expressed by my fellow neighbors with respect to this development. And I'll try not to be too repetitive, and I'll definitely be less than 5 minutes. We're opposed to these requested variances, which we say cannot be considered minor in nature. The proposed structure will be simply too high and most significantly will extend too far out the back of the property. The massing is wholly incompatible with other houses on the west side of our street. This 15-foot addition to the rear of the house will jut out into the backyard beyond existing established rear home projections for other houses on our side of this street. If you add the 10-foot elevated covered terrace built on top of a concrete pad with stone walls and levered walls and a roof 15 feet tall, the whole thing should be considered as part of one structure, which altogether extends back 25 feet further than it is now. And thankfully right now, you can't hear the noise of the construction that's taking place right next door to the property on 26 Woodland Park Road. Laura explained to you the process that happened last year, and I won't repeat it. That request was considered by the committee and originally rejected. The owner came back with a reduced footprint, which we didn't oppose. We're not happy with it, but we are prepared to live with it. But we're concerned that we're now going even further beyond what was allowed last time. And unlike the owner of 26 Woodland Park Road, the owner of this property hasn't even bothered to engage with any of us to make any efforts to listen to our concerns or accommodate any of our concerns. So in summary, we say that this is not a reasonable proposal. It's excessive. The proposed building would be appropriate for a larger lot, larger than the one that exists here, but it's not appropriate for the size of the lots in our neighborhood. It's not in keeping with the existing character of the neighborhood. It's incongruent with existing building forms. It will severely impact the neighbors' enjoyment of our properties, and we ask that it not be allowed. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean, for your comments. I just wanted to confirm Kate will not be speaking. It's just yourself, correct?
Yes, just me, even though she's a better speaker than I am.
I know, I think you did a great job. Thank you very much. Members of the committee, any questions for Sean? Okay, I see none. Thank you, Sean, for your time. We will now return to the applicant to rebut the concerns and the comments that were raised. So I will go back to Ian. Ian, you're with us?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So I hope you took some good notes so that you can respond to the questions and concerns that were raised.
I did, thank you. I can probably address all of them together rather than individually. I think it probably makes more sense as they are all very similar. And I would like to say that I did reach out to the neighbors. We deposited notes on all of their doorsteps and had conversations via phone call and email with a number of them to get their concerns of the longer size and larger building that they had they showed their expression at that point. At the same time, we had a previous application in there, and we discussed with the municipality as well, the zoning examiner and planners, and came to a conclusion of a reduction in FSI and coverage. At the time, previously, planning was not in support of our application and requested a denial. And most recently, they did not have that same position, which is why we went forth with such an application. But we did have conversations with a number of the neighbors. That being said, a number of their comments, one of them being the terrace at the rear, it doesn't trigger a variance. It's only a couple steps up off the ground, and it's an open air trellis with louvered siding so we can allow airflow and ventilation, but it's not actually part of our application or any of the variances. So, so I suggest that doesn't play a lot of a factor, given the fact that anybody could have a trellis or terrace in their backyard. As far as depth of the building goes, we are deeper than most buildings there because we've opted to go with a 4-foot side yard on the north side to allow more sunshine through between buildings on an east to west basis, as well as allowing us to have windows inside of our house. We are in excess of our side yard setback of 3 times our allowable, which is 0.45. And because of that, it pushes us a little bit deeper. That being said, on that north side, we are only 0.42 meters longer than our allowable building length. And on the south side, we're actually compliant, just less than 17 meters in building length. So we do fit within the envelope that the bylaw allows us to. Regardless of FSI, our building could be pushed back or forward because we have left excess setbacks in all of our directions. Building height was only mentioned in the last comment, and I started to touch on that in my presentation, although running out of time. But there is 80% of our roof is at a lower slope pitch roof, and that 80% is actually 18 inches lower than what we have. But if you factor that in with the variance or in the gradient of the road of an additional 2 feet, our building height is actually only a few inches, 6 to 8 inches over the requirement once you factor the actual topography in and the majority of our roof. So our massing, I don't believe, is actually outside of the nature of what's on those streets. There are lots of 2-story houses, including lot 16, who had an increase in building height as well, and that. Other comments that they had were, I think some of them were somewhat irrelevant in respect to location, placement of the house. We are inside of all of our footprints and setbacks, given the 0.52, I believe, on the south side and the 1.25 on the north side. Air conditioning units and such really aren't up for discussion, as it's not a committee task or question. Window wells and safety, we're bringing light into our basement and allowing our basement to have some safety egress. So, again, not a variance, but just to address a concern. One of the gentlemen brought up, actually, I think one of the ladies brought up lot 16 and how our house in Massing are the largest on the street, which is actually incorrect. Lot 16 is 42% FSI and only slightly less deep than ours, only because they had a lesser side yard than us. But we aren't the largest mass on the street in recent approvals. And I think that pretty much takes care of most of their concerns. If there's any other questions the committee might have, I'm more than happy to answer them for you.
Okay, thank you very much. It was good, exactly 5 minutes, so that's great. Members of the committee, any questions for Ian at this time? Okay, Member Saeed, please go ahead.
Thank you, and just a very short question. Is there any trees in the property which are going to be injured or removed? I see there is urban forestry condition there, so are you aware of that?
We are aware of the condition, yes. There aren't any trees on our property that we're addressing. The neighbor to our north has a tree inset on their property, and we have an application and agreement with injury for that one for excavation.
Okay, thank you very much. And any further questions for Ian? Okay, I see none. Thank you, Ian. Any closing remarks before I go into the committee?
No, I think we've got our point across. I think the application itself is minor on all extents, and we fit within the building envelopes allowed. I think we meet the criteria of the 4 tests of the Planning Act. So I leave it in your hands, Madam Chair and Committee.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, we now take the matter into committee for any deliberation or a motion. Member Macaulay, please go ahead. You're on mute.
Yes, thank you, Madam
Okay,
Chair.
you're good now. You're good now. Good, good. Carry on.
Gotta double check whether I'm on mute or unmuted. Could staff bring up the site plan on page 121, please?
Site plan on page 121, okay. Yes, we have it. Oh, you want it up on the screen?
Yes, I think it's helpful to have that up on the screen because I'm going to be talking to that.
Sure, staff is helping us out here. Give us a minute. Perfect. Can you see the screen now?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Katrina. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. This application, I believe there's 6 or 8 variances with it. So we're being asked to address a number of variances, some of which I'm not going to be as concerned with, height, some of those items. But the one that I am concerned with is the gross floor area, which is 73% gross floor area versus 60%, so that his building is 286 square meters versus 234. And the coverage on the lot is, the request is 39.07% versus 33. In both of those, they really address the size of the building on the lot. And that, I believe, is one of the items that the community has raised. I remember previous applications on Woodland and the fact that we've had a number of overviews of that area with substantial landscaping, tree cover, and almost a consistent line of housing in the rear yard, which is creating that sense of spaciousness, that sense of character for the community. By creating this house at 39% coverage versus 33, and at a 73% gross floor area versus 60, the proposal really is becoming too large for the lot to be in accordance with the built form in the community. I have a lot of concerns with that. That was one of the reasons why I asked about one of the ones further south. But it had extended into that fairly consistent line of rear yards. I'm not talking about the deck. The deck is not requested as a variance, and at any time someone can put a deck on the property. But the existing building is being requested, and therefore I have some major concerns as to how that impacts the overall character of this neighborhood. That is all I have to say at this time.
All right, thank you, Member Macaulay. Members of the committee, any comments on Member Macaulay's comments, or do you have your own comments? Member Taylor, please go ahead.
Yeah, I appreciate Member Macaulay's comments and those of many of the people that live on the street as well. I think, however, we have to balance considerations related to the existing built form, which are very important, with what is permitted as of right. And when I look at the requested variances, of course, we get an appreciation for what's permitted as of right. And there aren't any yard requirement adjustments here, front, rear, or side. I will suggest a minor height adjustment that is attributable to massing. And a 0.42 extension to the maximum permitted building length. So again, there's a difference between what's there and what could be there. And I just think we have to be careful to strike that balance. You know, I mean, truthfully, this this application could be adjusted, could have been adjusted, um, potentially to not require any variances, with the notable exceptions that Member Macaulay pointed out about FSI and lot coverage. Sometimes, and I think this is an example where when you consider all of the zoning standards, they're sometimes incongruent, because you look at the rear yard, what he's proposing, he doesn't require a rear yard boundary adjustment. And yet, yes, he does require, you know, those increases to the FSI and the lot coverage. So that's all I have to say. I guess the bottom line is there's two considerations: what's there and what could be there.
Thank you, Member Taylor. I think you've raised a good point about balancing between all these different regulations. And ask here may not necessarily, is balanced off by something, that does, it's not there. So I think that's a great observation and comment. And I think overall we have to look at the cumulative effect of these variances as well when we're considering these applications. So I do echo Member Macaulay's comments as well, but I think in this particular one, we have to look at balancing out a few things here. Okay, any further comments? Okay, last call, any further comments? I see none. All right, members of the committee, no further comments. We are ready for a motion, and I just want to make sure that were there comments of urban forestry, and did someone check with the applicant if he was aware? Member Said, you typically do those?
Yes, Madam
The
Chair.
applicant indicated he was aware. Oh, sorry.
Applicant is aware of,
Perfect.
I think Sean confirmed that, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Okay, so can I have a motion at this time, please? Member Taylor, please go ahead. Member Taylor raised his hand first. Member Taylor, please go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I guess for reasons I stated, I think the preponderance of the variances requested lead me to be supportive. Again, there's no, the house is being built within the approved building envelope. And so in cumulative, I feel that the variances meet the 4 tests. And I move approval subject to urban forestry condition number 3.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to approve the application subject to conditions of urban forestry. Seconder, please. Member Said?
Madam Chair, I second the motion for approval subject to the urban forestry condition.
Okay, thank you. All in favor of this motion? All opposed? All right, so I am in favor of this motion. The motion's carried and the application is removed. So for record, Member Macaulay and Member McKay were not in favor of the motion, but the application's been approved subject to condition of urban forestry. Thank you everyone for taking the time to meet with us today. Thank you. We now go to item number 7, and item number 7 is 90 Manderly Drive. We have before us a minor variance application, and there are 5 variances associated with it. The agent is here, Joe Domb. Joe, you're with us?
Hi.
Hi.
Yes, I am.
Perfect, thank you. Would you like to make a presentation, or would you rather dive right into the questions?
If you, I can do a presentation or I can go into the questions. It really, it just.
It's your call.
I
It's
leave
your
it
call.
up to you.
No, it's your call actually.
I could make a short presentation.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so you have 5 minutes, so please go ahead.
Okay. Hi, my name is Joe Dome, 1101 Steeles Avenue West, agent for the applicant. The owners would like to build a new 2-story detached dwelling that reflects their growing family and livability needs. For variance number 1, we feel that the proposed FSI is very minor. And for variance number 2, the 0.6 meter projection at the front is to accommodate a little bit of extra width for the proposed narrow second floor bedroom, and furthermore to create a more visually pleasing and less flat appearance from the street. For variance number 3, the proposed front yard setback, which is only a difference of 0.42 meters, is the same as the current house. And variance number 4, the front yard soft landscaping is the same as existing. The new stairs cover the same area as the existing stairs in the private portion of the yard. And for variance number 5, after submitting revisions based on transportation staff comments, they have no objections to the application. And also I'd like to point out planning has no objections as well. And also we have no height variances, side yard setback, length or depth variances as well. We have 5 letters of support, which includes both side neighbors, 88, 92 Manderly, as well as numbers 91, 93, and 89. And furthermore, the proposed dwelling is consistent with other newer 2-story builds, such as 78 Manderly and jumping directly 1 street east, 106 Kalmar Avenue, and also directly 1 street west, 148 Dunnington, which includes similar front projections. And we feel that this application is reasonable and minor in nature. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you, Joe, for your presentation. Members of the committee, any questions for Joe? Any questions? All right, I see none. Thank you very much. Joe, any closing remarks before I take the matter into committee?
No, that's okay.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, members of the committee, we take the matter into committee now, and any comment, or if not, then a motion. So first of all, any comments? Member Saeed.
My comments on this application, Madam Chair. This is a pretty much straightforward application, and I can see all the 5 variances before the committee are very minor, and that's why I'm willing to support that.
All right, thank you, Member Saeed. And I don't see any other comments. So may I have a motion, please? Member Saeed, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the motion for approval of this application, and there is one condition of urban forestry.
All right, thank you. So we have a motion on the floor to approve the application subject to condition of urban forestry, and Member Mackay.
Yes, Madam Chair, I'll second that motion to approve, as said, subject to the urban forestry condition. Thank you.
Thank you. All in favor of this motion? The motion is carried. The application for 90 Manderly Drive has been approved, subject to condition of urban forestry. Thank you very much, Joe, for your time today.
Thank you.
So sorry about that. Staff, I had a question for staff, and then was just obtaining some information on that. So if you've noticed, members of the committee, we did not vet the agenda at the beginning. This was based on some discussions that I had with staff, but in the interest of time, and we had a late start as well, I was thinking if that would be appropriate, that for the remainder of the items, from items 8 to 17, we vet the agenda so that we can at least take care of the non-contentious items and just focus on on any that need to be held. Is that okay with you, members of the committee? All in favor? Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for your for your understanding. And we will vet the other time slot, items on the other time slots as well. So I think that would be more beneficial and productive in terms of time. Okay, so now a little change for those of you who have tuned in and are listening to us. For items from 8 to 17, I will now be vetting the agenda just to deal with the items that do not need to be held for further discussion. So starting with item 8. But before I do, I just want to check. Patrick Padilla is the agent. Are you with us, Patrick? Perfect. Thank you, Patrick. Patrick, as you may have heard, are you with us, Patrick?
Yes.
Okay. So, Patrick,
I'm
as
here,
you
Madam
may
Chair.
have heard, we will now vet the agenda rather than opening the floor for discussion, unless you have to say anything.
I just want to tell that we have an urban forestry application.
Oh, okay.
Injure or remove the trees.
Okay, no, that's a very good point. I would have definitely confirmed that with you. So for item 8, yes, we do have a condition of urban forestry, and that is number 2, and that pertains to, you're correct, permit to injure, remove the tree. So that's good. Thank you for catching that. And we also have a staff report from community planning, and they have recommended a condition. Have you had a chance to look at it, and do you have any questions?
Yes, we have looked at it and we agree that we will build to as per the drawings.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Patrick. I will ask the committee members if there are any questions for Patrick at this time. I see none. All right, thank you. If there are no comments, may I please have a motion on the application for item 8, which is 17 Brimley Road? Member Said, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As Patrick has seen and we agreed on both the conditions of the urban forestry and the community planning, I put forward the motion for approval of application number 8, subject to the conditions of urban forestry and community planning.
Thank you. May I have a seconder? Member Macaulay, please go ahead.
I second that motion.
All right. All in
Again,
favor?
subject to conditions.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Member Macaulay. All in favor of this motion? All right. The motion's carried and the application for item 8, 17 Brimley Road has been approved. Thank you, Patrick, for your time.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. We now move to item number 9. Item number 9, this is an application at 5557 Lawrence Avenue East. We have the agent and the owner with us. Mathan Tharmaraja, are you with us, Mathan?
Yes, we are here.
Okay, thank you. Mathan, you are, I just want to check if there are any conditions of urban forestry for this one. There are no conditions of urban forestry. So Mathan, do you have any comments at this time, or are you prepared that we move forward with the decision?
I would, you can go ahead with the decision.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Members of the committee, any questions? I see none. All right. Thank you, Mathan. Committee members, if there are no questions, may I please have a motion on this application? There are no conditions of urban forestry or other departments. Member Saeed, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I put forward motion for approval of application number 9. There is no conditional staff to this.
Okay, thank you. May I have a seconder, please? Ty. Member Taylor, please go ahead.
Thanks, Gary. I'll give you the next one. I happily second the motion to approve the conditions.
All right, thank you. All in favor of this motion? The motion's carried and the application for 5557 Lawrence Avenue East has been approved and there are no conditions. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members.
Okay, thank you. Item 10 is for 83 Kalmar Avenue, and this matter will be held because there are several speakers registered. So item 10, 83 Kalmar Avenue has been held for further discussion. Item number 11, 1028 McNichol Avenue. And I believe this is the one where the community planning had recommended refusal. So we are going to hold item 11 and come back to it for further discussion. Item 11 for 1028 McNichol is being held. All right, moving to item number 12, 260 Ingleton Boulevard. And we have we have quite a few registered speakers, so we will have to hold down this item as well. Item 12 is being held. Item 13, 17 Shandon Drive. Again, this has one neighbor in opposition, so we will hold down this item. Item 14, 2229 Kingston Road. And there are no registered speakers but the agent. So Rob Lavecia, are you with us, Rob? Rob Lavecia, are you with us?
I am here.
All right, thank you. Rob, we have your application for minor variance, and there's one requested variance. Do you want to make a presentation, or do I write in, or see if committee members have any questions?
Through the speaker, I don't think there's a need for a presentation. The proposal is simply to add a mezzanine to an existing first floor commercial space of an existing condominium building that's been vacant for quite some time. And the addition of mezzanine will allow for office uses, which are permitted, and will allow the space to fulfill its intended purpose. And I believe we do meet the 4 tests. I've read the recommendations from community planning that will require that the drawings be in accordance with the drawings we also submitted in order to update the site plan agreement package to reflect the revisions to the elevation. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Members of the committee, any questions? As Rob mentioned, there is a condition in community planning staff report. And are there any conditions of urban forestry? I am just checking. There are no conditions of urban forestry. Okay. Is there a report on the agenda from community planning?
Madam Chair, there is none.
There is? Okay. Oh, perfect. Okay. I for some reason, I don't see it on my agenda. Maybe it's in the supplementary package. Okay, that's okay. All right. So members of the committee, any questions for Rob? Member Said.
Rob, it may not be a variance, but just I wanted to have a quick answer from you. How this development is going to affect, or I should say whether or not this development is going to affect the parking numbers, which is 277 parking. So is that going to affect this?
It will not affect through the chair, it will not affect any of the parking requirements. We understand that the original building was constructed with excess parking, and the zoning bylaw requires only that parking spaces be available on site, which they are.
Okay, and there are no variances requested for parking. So, but you're right, there was a parking justification letter, so that when I was reviewing the application, I also had the same thought. So, yeah, so there's no variance, but a parking justification was provided as part of the package. So thank you, Rob. Member Said, are you satisfied with the response?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions? Member Taylor.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I'm reluctant to cast a vote on this without knowing more about the community planning report that I can't find either in the agenda package or the supplementary package. I'm wondering if staff could locate that for us and maybe show it to us on the screen.
Okay, so I think staff heard you, and the report is on the screen. So there's a condition from community planning that the owner shall build substantially in accordance with the drawings A100, A005, and A401.
Okay, thank you.
And it is Katrina, if you go up, it's a fairly short report. correct? Yeah, and there you go. It's just one paragraph in case you want to take a quick look at it. No, you were on the right page. Right there, thank you. Yeah, so basically, community planning staff is supportive of the application.
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. If there are no further comments or questions, may I please have a motion? Member Macaulay, please go ahead.
Madam Chair, I recommend approval of this application subject to the conditions of community planning. I believe that this is minor and is part of an appropriate overall development.
Okay, thank you very much. May I have a seconder, please? Member Said, please go ahead.
Madam Chair, I second the motion for approval, subject to the condition of community plan.
Thank you. All in favor of this motion? All right, motion carried. The application has been approved, subject to condition of community planning staff report recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. This was 2229. Okay, approved. So we now go to the next item, 162 Harewood Drive, and there are a list of speakers here. There's a list of speakers, so this matter will also be held. So item 15 for 162 Harewood Avenue is being held. We now go to item 16. Item 16, sorry, that was deferred, right? No, we didn't deal with this.
Yes, it was.
We dealt with it?
deferred.
Oh, sorry, it was dealt. Sorry, yes. Okay, item 16 was held. Was dealt with. Item 17, 64 Kencliff Crescent, and we have the agent here, Yasu.
Yes, Madam Chair, Yaso Somalingam. I'm the authorized agent on this application.
Okay, thank you, Yasu. And for record, we have received one support letter, one opposition letter, one counselor's letter, and all this material has been reviewed. Members of the committee, any questions for Yasu? I see none. Yasu, any remarks or presentation at this time?
Yeah, actually, this item was deferred in previous meeting because the councillor and the neighbors have some concern. Then after that, we spoke to the neighbors and the councillors. We have rectified all the matters. So they all are in support of this application. So we want your support so that we can proceed with the next.
Okay, that's great. So that's great. All right, thank you, Yasu. If no further comments, I will take the matter into committee. Committee members, may I have a motion, please? Member Said, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you very much, Yasu, for addressing the issues which were outstanding during the previous discussions anyway. And also there is a condition of urban forestry over here, urban forestry condition number 1 and 2. So I put forward motion for approval of this application subject to urban forestry condition number 1 and 2.
Thank you. May I have a seconder, please? Member McKay.
Yes, Madam Chair, I'll second that motion to approve, subject to the urban forestry condition.
Thank you. All in favor of this motion? The motion is carried, and the application for 64 Kencliff Crescent, which is item 17, has been approved subject to conditions of urban forestry. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I think that brings us to the end of the items for the first time slot. So, and that was item 17. So now we go back to the ones that were held. So we held 83 Kalmar Avenue, 1028 McNichol Avenue, 260 Ingleton Boulevard, 17 Shandon Drive, and 162 Harewood Avenue. Is that correct? Perfect, thank you. So 5 items have been held. So moving to the first item that was held, this is item 10, 83 Kalmar Avenue. And we have Patrick McAuliffe as the agent. Patrick, you're with us?
Yes, I am.
Right, thank you. Just bear with us for a moment. I will do a roll call for all the neighbors who have registered to speak. Mark Robinson. All right, Mark, we do not see you here. If you do wish to speak to the committee, please try to connect over the next few minutes so that we can speak with you. Graham Chernoff. Graham, you with us?
Hello, yes, I'm here. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Graham. Please stay with us for a moment. Shelley Madden.
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you, Shelley. Please bear with us for a moment. Caroline Fleer. Caroline.
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. Scott Taylor. Scott, you with us? Scott, are you with us? We see you. We see you've signed in, but we can't hear you. Okay, so we'll come back to you to check in with you. Cindy Blundell. Okay, we do not see Cindy connected. So Cindy, if you wish to speak, please do connect in the next few moments. Scott, we will come back to you just to check in with you. You do have a few minutes to address any audio issues if you have. So we are going to move to now Patrick McAuliffe. Patrick.
Yes, I am.
All right. Thank you so much. So would you like to make a presentation on your application?
Yes, I would.
Please go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
Okay, this came to committee 2 months ago, and it was deferred. At that committee meeting, we heard all the neighbors talk, and we listened to what everybody had to say, and we went back and we revised the drawings. And this is the list again, but with the changes that we have made. Item number 1 still remains the same. Item number 2 remains the same. Item number 3 now only refers to the garage area. The rest of the house fits the zoning requirements. Item number 4 refers only to the garage area. The rest of the house meets the requirements of the zoning bylaws. Item number 5 is what I consider to be a minor variance. Item number 6 is the house, where the house is positioned on the property. We would like to have a full parking space in front of the garage that is not on city property. So that's why the house is positioned where it is. And item number 7 is only there because the people tell me that we cannot include the right-of-way property as to the front yard property. So that's why the percentage of soft landscaping is low. And that's all I really have to say at this time.
Okay, thank you, Patrick, and thank you for explaining to us in terms of what changes or revisions you've made to the application. I will now move to the committee members. Committee members, any questions for Patrick at this time? Okay, I see none. Thank you. Thank you, Patrick. Stay with us. We are now going to begin speaking with our speakers here. So checking again, Mark Robinson has not signed in. So Mark, if you wish to speak, please sign in. Graham Chernoff, we will start with you. Graham, please go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
Hi there, members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity. I do just want to note that in my submission in the file, it looks like one of the pages was transmitted in without the content. I'm wondering if what you're seeing reflects that. It's the site plan showing my house. Sorry, I should have said I'm the property owner at 81 Kalmar Avenue, directly adjacent to the south of the subject property.
So which, sorry, before we proceed, Graham, which drawing number are you referring to, the site plan?
Yes, site plan on the application would be A1 of 9, and I marked it up with some location of the trees that I referred to in my submission. At any rate, it's an illustration of the points I made in the submission. This reflects my main concern. I'll speak about that in a minute.
So we have your written submission here, right? So we have your written submission here, and we have read it through. except I didn't find any visuals there, or maybe, oh yeah,
Yeah,
there are visuals, you're right, there are visuals, so we can see that, okay,
so
all right. Yeah.
Page 5, the version I downloaded from the Application Information Center does not have any content. However, the version I transmitted to the committee did have content. So I'm
Okay,
not
all
sure.
right, so we have those contents here.
Okay, good.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if it's useful to share that image on the screen, if it's possible.
Katrine, would you be able
Because it
to?
does speak to my main concern. I'll speak to my other concerns as well, and I understand that the other neighbors will be speaking to these as well. Loss of privacy is the main one because of the depth of the building and because of where the building is situated on the lot. The window in the south wall will be directly overlooking my backyard, along with the deck that will be directly overlooking my backyard from a height that is a lot higher than normal. So that's the concern about loss of privacy, and that's one of the reasons that this proposal does not meet the 4 tests that you need to consider. The main concern of mine is that there are 2 mature trees on my property. I go into detail in the written submission, and these were not taken into account, nor the requirements for tree protection zones in the proposal. Both of the trees warrant a tree protection zone, one of 3 meters and one of 3.6, and the footprint of the proposed building would overlap. So yeah, there should be. I think that maybe the file did not transmit properly. Anyway, it's an illustration. These are just pictures that I'm showing you demonstrating my amateur measurement. I'm not a surveyor at all. So, but this is work that the applicant should have done to inventory the mature trees within the area concern, according to the City of Toronto's tree protection policy and tree bylaw. So those are all just demonstrating that the measurements that I have included on the marked up version of the plan, which I did transmit to the committee on May 6th. That's how I came to those measurements, just using measuring tapes. So overall, the proposal fails all 4 of the tests. They're all but one of the variances are not minor because of the detailed negative impacts that I've outlined in my submission. Loss of privacy, loss of light, damage to mature trees, and the danger of flooding, which other neighbors will speak to. The proposal fails to take advantage of the minimum yard setback exception in the residential zoning bylaw because of the desire to include more parking on the property than is necessary. And so then it's not, I contend that it's not an appropriate development or use of land, nor is it desirable, and nor does it maintain the general intent or purpose of the zoning code or bylaw because the applicant chose not to take advantage of the averaging exception for front yard setbacks. Then the tree again is my main concern, so that the proposal violates the the city's tree bylaw. So I would recommend that the committee reject the application and encourage a revised proposal from the applicant with a valid tree protection plan that would be submitted to ensure there would be no damage to the trees on my property, and that it would be accompanied by a report from a reputable
Thank you.
arborist. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I was just watching the
worries.
clock here. Okay. All right. Members of the committee, any questions for Graham? Member Macaulay, please go ahead.
Just a clarification, the photo that we saw shows the one tree almost immediately behind the house. That's one of the ones that you are concerned about that will have to be will have to be destroyed if the house is built. Is that correct?
You're asking me or the client?
Thank you.
No, I'm asking the
I was
speaker.
on mute.
Okay.
It's this tree here.
Yes, so that's the birch tree. The beige house is my house. The white house is the subject property. The
Oh, okay. So that tree is on your property.
Yes, both of those mature trees, and the proposal would require excavation far within the required tree protection zone for the diameter of those two trees.
And the
So-
white house is the subject property.
Exactly, yeah. So the
Thank you. Thank you for that clarification.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions for Graham? Okay, I see none. Thank you. Thank you, Graham, for your time. We now move to Shelley Madden. Shelley?
Hi.
Hi.
Yes, I'm here. Thank you.
You're welcome. Please go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you so much. So first, I just wanted to say that I'm really hopeful that the house next door will be occupied sooner than later, because there's been very many delays that are problematic, because the lot has been vacant for quite some time, which is concerning to me. But in light of that, I am really concerned that in the bigger context of the community, development is a constant concern, especially in relation to variances, making things bigger, wider, higher, and slowly changing the landscape over time. You can see that happening all over. I've already been to other meetings where there's been concerns about variance. And third, although the concern of the variances, there's 7, they are considered minor. To me, a couple of them are pretty major, one with the maximum lot coverage and 2, the building length. So although it's because this proposal is already so huge. So anything that goes over it just seems to be pushing that agenda of getting things bigger, higher, wider. And it's sort of setting a precedent that I'm not very happy with. And then finally, many of my neighbors have expressed their concern to me. I'm right next door to this on the north side. So, somebody will be talking about flooding. That's been a problem in this area. And personally, it will affect my privacy and especially our garden that we really, really love. We love our garden, and I think it will, impede on that. So I think that's about all I have to say. I really appreciate having the opportunity to speak and offering my perspective on this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Shelley. We appreciate you taking the time and speaking with us. Members of the committee, any questions for Shelley? I see none. All right. Thank you, Shelley. Please stay tuned. We will now go to the next speaker. Caroline Fleer.
Hi. Yes, I'm here.
Hi, Caroline.
Can I
Please
go
go. Yeah, please go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
Okay. You've already received my detailed objections in writing about the 7 very important variances that are being requested again today. And I do appreciate that the architect agent has made some revisions to the plan. But I still want to voice how this revised plan with these variances combined still does not meet the 4 tests that the COA must answer when voting on the minor variance request. Test number 1, the variance requested is minor. No, I don't feel it is. The agent is here for the second time to ask for excessive to the same 7, 5 of which are major parts of the structure of the lot, for an oversized house plan, and all of which have not been necessary since the beginning. They had the benefit of the survey at the time of the design, knew the bylaw limits, and were designing solely for profit. 7 neighbors have already detailed how these excesses would still detrimentally affect nearby houses, themselves, and Birchcliff itself, and others who are here speaking today. Test number 2, is the proposal desirable for the appropriate development or use of the land or building? No. While this question could be interpreted to mean, does he want to add an apartment building? Everyone objecting in writing so far has detailed in some way how this huge oversized structure will overpower the street, the other houses, the roof lines, and deny some specific homeowner rights and enjoyment. Test number 3 are the general intent and purpose of the city's zoning code and or bylaws maintained. Definitely not. These bylaws are in place as a vital part of Toronto's official plan to protect its neighborhoods. These are laws that shouldn't be ignored by anyone. Others have built new homes or added second stories and have managed to design in compliance overall. I can support flexibility in the odd minor stretch to a couple of these variances to help on an actual lot problem or design. But 7? Another neighbor's already written submission documented his conversation with the owner, which proved the intent is solely for immediate bill and sell profit. And so it should comply. I also know from my knowledge that to this date, and this is to my knowledge, the owner and agent has not communicated with any of us to resolve our concerns, perhaps in the future. Test number 4 is the general intent and purpose of Toronto's official plan maintained. Definitely not. I wrote about that on my written submission in Chapter 4.1.5 and specifically noting Section C, D, E, and G, which cover many aspects with regards to prevailing dimensions, etc., that are not met with this new revised plan. That chapter also states, and I quote, "Physical changes to our existing neighborhoods must be sensitive, gradual, and fit the existing physical character." This oversized mega house plan does not fit Kalmar's streetscape, nor does it reinforce or exhibit neighborhood character. So while I do welcome sensitive and respectfully planned design that revitalize dilapidated housing in the neighborhood, as I detailed in my written objections, and I've weighed them against the variances against the 4 tests here today, I respectfully ask that these variances still not be approved, and instead the plan be revised again and brought much closer to compliance. The agent did mention a couple of things today, and part of that is the depth and the length of the house. Maybe not minor in depth or in length to him, but to the neighbors that have to sit beside it and look at a wall, that's major. You could move it up. There is space to move it up in my eyes after looking at the plan. Also removing the frosted window, perhaps using permeable pavers with regards to reducing the landscaping out the front yard. And numbers 3 and 4, yes, you've lowered the roof line, but only over the garage, and that does, it's higher over the garage now, and that extends back about approximately halfway down the 3rd bedroom on the north side. So this thing is going to look a little lopsided with a lower side on the south side and the south front, but higher on the north. So hopefully we can work this out. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Caroline, for your comments. Members of the committee, any questions for Caroline? I see none. All right, thank you, Caroline. Please stay with us for a few minutes. We will now move to Scott Taylor. Scott, you with us?
Hello. Hi there.
Hi. Please go
Hi,
ahead.
you can hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you well. Please go ahead, and you have 5 minutes.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate all of the comments that everyone has made, and I don't want to go into too much great detail. I have a couple of concerns, obviously. Mine is that because of these variances in this sort of enlarged size of this house, and again, this is a relative thing. This house is much, much larger than any of the other houses in the neighborhood. I've lived on the street now for 12 years. I purchased a bungalow. I was able to renovate my bungalow and put a 2nd story on. And I did have to go to committee for an enlargement of our front porch, which again was a minor variance in the sense that we went from I think like a 0.5 percentage point or less in total coverage. We did not change. We did not ask for a variance in height or setback or anything like that. It was simply coverage of our property, which was as minor as we possibly could go. And I'd like to say that, that we sort of kept with the nature of the other bungalows that have been topped up in the neighborhood, which is very common in this neighborhood. So we're supportive of that kind of development. We're not supportive of things that are excessive. And so my concern is that this is sort of excessive and irresponsible. And what I mean by that is that there's been numerous members of the street have talked about the difficulty with drainage, the difficulty with flooding that we've experienced, particularly at that particular location of the street. But then when you look at the excessive size of the building, there's no mention of any kind of measures being taken for sustainability. This house proposes to have 6 bathrooms, a bathroom in each of the bedrooms. My understanding, this is meant to be a single family dwelling. I don't understand how that equates to a single family dwelling with a bathroom in each room. It has quite a large basement, and I think that was the biggest maybe change that was made, was simply that the basement height was reduced in order to lower the height of the house, but in no way was any attempt made to reduce the actual footprint of the building compared to the previous plan that was submitted a month ago. So I think it's irresponsible to actually submit a plan here that doesn't take into account any of the actual excessive requests that are being made. There's no request, or there's no suggestion that there's going to be any kind of water capture system. Like, this is going to be an unsustainable, let's say, irresponsible for the environment, irresponsible in terms of the direction that we are moving forward, or trying to move forward, and reducing carbon footprint, reducing the impact on our environment. And I don't think this does any of those things. So there's no mention of solar or gray water reuse systems. So, I mean, I'd like to have a conversation about that with this, with whoever is putting forward this motion, and maybe that's something to consider. But I don't see that in the plan, nor has this has there been an attempt to have this conversation. So I just, my opinion is that it's excessive, it's not responsible in any way, and therefore it shouldn't be considered as acceptable variances for this build. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Members of the committee, any questions for Scott? All right, thank you. All right, Scott, there were no questions for you, so please stay tuned, and we will continue to discuss this application. Cindy Blundell. All right, Cindy, you have not connected with us, so all right, so we have to move on. So I will now go back to Patrick McAuliffe, the agent. Patrick, you're with us?
Yes, I am here.
Thank you. Patrick, you heard the comments and concerns raised by the community members and the residents. Please respond to the concerns and issues that were raised.
Okay, so I'll go through this list again, and I'll eliminate some of these items just to make everybody happy. Okay? First off, item number 1 we'll eliminate completely. Okay? And item number 6 we will eliminate. We will position the house further forward on the property.
So you're removing item. So you're removing item number 1, the lot coverage, and item number 6.
Yep.
Okay, so this is improving the situation. So you are deleting or withdrawing the lot coverage and the permitted building depth.
Yep. Yep.
These 2.
And I'll remove number 7 as well, because I'll just eliminate any sidewalks out on the front lawn. Most of these properties on this street don't even meet this requirement anyways, because a lot of them have had driveways that have been widened and whatever. But I'll just eliminate this item and I'll make it work. Number 7.
Okay, so delete, so withdrawing item number 1, item number 6, and item number 7.
So that leaves 4 items left. 2 of them, which as a result is because of the 3-story section, the garage with the family room over and the bedroom over top of that. I cannot make that any shallower than what it is. Now, this I'll point out is a little higher than what most flat roof houses are. But when you take a look at the house, which is at number just a further up the street, where it's a sloped roof, but they have the slope of the roof up near the front of the house at 107. That because the sloped roof is at the front of the house, that house appears to be 9 meters high. This will never appear to be 9 meters high. So this will not appear to be the tallest house on the street. So I'm happy with that. Now, as far as the drainage goes, we're required to provide proper drainage on this property. So whatever we do, we have to provide proper drainage for this property. There's no way around that. So other than that, I think we've done quite a lot to downsize and quite a lot to give in to all the demands.
Okay, thank you, Patrick.
Okay.
Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, so I'm just recapping here. Items 1, item 6, and item 7 have been withdrawn.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Members of the committee, any questions for Patrick with the on the application and the revisions that have just been proposed on the floor? Member Said, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Patrick, for making these changes, which is really good. One of the concerns raised by the speakers is about the trees, which is to the adjacent property. I see there is a urban forestry report over here, which says there is no tree in the property, this application property, but there are trees to the adjacent, which has not been addressed. So tell me, is this development is going to have any effect on the trees on the adjacent property?
What will happen now is with the front yard setback being changed to what the city requirement is, this house will come back only slightly deeper than the house that's at 81, the one with the tree. So it should have no bearing on that tree whatsoever.
Does that answer your question, Member Said?
Yes, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Okay. Any more questions? Okay, I see none. All right, there are no further questions. Patrick, before I take the matter into committee, any closing remarks?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, members of the committee, we take the matter into committee. I have a question for staff. So we have a community planning staff report that says, should the committee approve it, the following condition be opposed that the owner shall build substantially in accordance with the drawing prepared. Now, with the revisions that strictly pertain to, the revisions that were just discussed, which is the building depth and changes to the lot area, that will affect the site plan. So if we were to, let's say, should the committee approve it and put that condition, would that be any conflict? Would there be any conflict there?
Yeah, yes, through the committee, through the chair, there would be conflict.
Because that's not going to be the drawing then?
That's correct. It will be revised.
So maybe, again, I'm just thinking here, should the committee approve it and should the committee want to impose that condition, we can say that substantially in conformance with the drawing and in accordance with the variances that have been approved by the committee, something along those lines. If the reason I say is that perhaps the community planning was trying to achieve more objectives than just the variances with that design. I'm just thinking aloud here.
So through the chair, I guess the issue here is that, as you know, the committee approves variances. They don't necessarily approve plans, right?
Correct.
So I think it's really up to the committee whether they wish to tie it to plans. You see community planning's staff report, and they've given their reasons why they wanted to tie it to plans. Some of those are still applicable, but again, it's the committee's it's the committee's call whether the amended variances should take precedent over the plans.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that helps. Thank you for that clarification, and then something to consider should the committee go in that direction. So members of the committee, we are now discussing the application. Any comments, any thoughts? And we got some clarification from staff on that particular recommendation from CP. Should we consider including it? Member Macaulay, please go ahead.
Yes. I guess a couple. I certainly appreciate what the applicant is doing, and I certainly appreciate the fact that he is eliminating the condition of the coverage, the building depth, and the building location. And I think those are improvements. I am a little concerned that planning staff wanted to give approval to the actual site plan that be submitted in accordance with the site plan for lot coverage, which has changed, floor area again, which has changed, dwelling height and height of parapet walls will remain the same. So I don't see a mechanism to say that this should be in accordance with the site plan that we have considered.
Actually, there is a catch-all sentence in that very recommendation, Member Macaulay. The last sentence, any other variances that may appear on these plans but are not listed in the written decision are not authorized. So that may be sort of a catch-all there. So, for example,
I'm not quite sure what they are meaning in that, because they've listed all the items that they would want to consider, including those items that may or may not be part of the variances.
And that's what I'm saying, that if the committee feels that that is a reasonable recommendation based on your own analysis and opinion, then I think we should be able to achieve what we're trying to achieve here, which would capture the modified variances today, if they're approved.
All right, so if, and I'm still talking here, if we make this, approve this application as revised, and make it subject to approval of subject to the community planning staff recommends the decision be tied to this, can't be tied to the subject site plan as shown, because that's going to change. I don't think we can do that.
Okay, all right.
I think it's really a question of either we do it in accordance with the site plan, or we not tie it to that site plan. Because you look at the lot coverage, floor area, all of those, building depth and front yard landscaping, they basically put everything in there. So perhaps staff have a recommendation. I see staff approaching the chair.
Okay, all right. Let's see if other members have any other comments. Can we have the screen back? Katrine, thank you. Member Taylor, I have two hands. I'll go with Member Taylor first, and then I will go to Member Said. Member Taylor, please go ahead.
Yeah, just responding to Member Macaulay. In my view, I think the final sentence in the community planning recommendation addresses this issue completely.
Yeah, that is that catch-all.
Any other variances that may appear in these plans but are not listed in the written decision are not authorized. So we, in the written decision, would presumably delete variances 1, 6, and 7, and the planning department would be obliged to reflect that aspect of our decision in their final approval. So personally, I don't think we have an issue. I think the community planning recommendation can stand regardless of the decisions that we make on the variances.
I agree with you, Member Taylor. I think that's that sentence which will capture any inconsistency. So let's say whatever the decision will say, that would have to be reflected on the drawing, and that's about it. So I personally don't see an issue. Member Macaulay.
Okay, if I'm really looking for advice here, so if upon consideration you think that that is reasonable, I'm prepared to recommend approval of this application as modified. I would also, before we vote on this, like to make the note that we do have a report from forestry, and in the forestry is asking that there be uh, a report to let me see, conditions of urban forestry require that they submit a report to urban forestry to protect trees on site and within 6 meters of the site. I
Where
think that report would
where is
address
that?
the items that the neighbor has.
Through the chair, Urban Forestry has already reviewed this application.
Yeah.
And they've already done a full review of this application, and they provided one condition that I believe it's condition number 3.
Yeah, it's that no existing tree, where there is no existing tree, the owner shall provide payment in lieu. That's the only condition I see on the urban forestry memo.
That is correct.
Okay. And so they have already provided the report to urban forestry.
They probably did. The final memo from urban forestry that we as the committee have received has only one condition in it, and that is condition number 3 that requires payment in lieu of a street tree. I can't hear.
I see that.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, let's move on. Time is of essence here. Any other comments? Oh, Member Said.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In my opinion, at the moment we have two options. The option number one is that we don't put the community planning condition over here, because since the variance number 167 has been taken out, so the site plan number 1, which is on figure 1, is given already, is not applicable. So the CP conditions are not there. Or the option number 2 could be, in the light of the variances or the changes which we have made, that the committee is considering on that, so we can tie up with the revised site plan, which will be provided in the light of these changes. So we have these two options in addition to the urban forestry condition number 3.
Through the chair, just a point of clarification, I clarify my previous comment, is that the chair, I guess you had raised the comment at the very end of that condition, the community planning condition, which does indicate that that other zoning nonconformities that may appear on these plans that are not reflected in the written decision are not otherwise authorized. So, should the committee wish to approve this application as amended, they could approve it subject to the community planning conditions and the urban forestry conditions.
Yes, this is what, thank you for clarifying, and this is what I was trying to say, and I think Member Taylor also confirmed that that particular sentence will take care of any zoning nonconformities shown on this particular plan. Okay, I think we've really put in a lot of time and effort into this, and I think we need to proceed with a motion. Can you please, can I please have a motion at this time? Member Said, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I put forward the motion for approval of item number 10, subject to the condition of community planning and urban forestry.
And the application as amended?
As amended, yes.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to approve the application as amended, subject to condition of community planning staff report and urban forestry. Okay, may I have a seconder, please? Member Macaulay.
I will second that motion.
All right, thank you. All in favor of this motion? The motion's carried. The application has been approved. Thank you very much. Okay, we now go to item number 11 that was held. This is 1028 McNichol Avenue. And we have with us the agent.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
Madam Chair, it is now 1:35. I wonder if we could take a short break?
You want to take a short break?
Yes,
Okay, is that a quick refresher break or are you referring to the lunch break?
I can deal with a quick refresher
Okay,
break as
all
long
right.
as it gives me time to go to the washroom.
All right, no problem. You take your, we'll get back in 10 minutes. Okay, thank you. So for those of you who are listening, 10 minutes, quick refresher break. We'll be back with you in 10 minutes. 1:45. all rooms? Okay, thank you. Welcome everyone back. It is 1:40, just over 1:45, and we are going to dive right into the item number 11, which is 1028 McNichol Avenue. I just want to give a heads up. Depending on how long this item goes, we may have to switch to the PM YouTube stream, but we'll let you know when that happens. So I would like to now bring in Mr. Martin Rendell. Are you with us, Martin?
Yes, I'm here, Madam Chair.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much, and thank you for your patience. So, Martin, would you like to make a brief presentation? I'm sure you're aware we have a community planning staff report recommending refusal of this application. Just to let you know, we do not have any registered speakers. So, over to you now. You have 5 minutes if you wish to make a presentation.
Okay, in the interest of time, I'll just give a brief overview and respond to the staff report. I've made 3 written submissions to the committee on this, so I think you have the background on it. In terms of the variance, this is for the St. John's McNichol Community Development, which has 2 existing senior citizen apartment buildings on the site. The building subject of this variance would be the 3rd and last building on the site. If you had a chance to visit the site, you've seen the current development there and the context. The variance is a variance from City of Scarborough Employment Area Bylaw 24982. This site is not covered by the new harmonized bylaw. It's still covered under the Scarborough bylaw. And the development and the bylaw was approved by the Ontario Municipal Board in 2007, so that governs the site. There's a single variance for this, and it deals with the maximum building height. Under the Scarborough bylaw, the maximum building height is 18 stories. The need for the variance arises because the Scarborough bylaw includes in stories below grade levels, so that includes underground parking levels are part of building height, as well as mechanical penthouses on the top of the building. So the proposed building has 18 residential floors, 1 level of underground parking, and 1 mechanical penthouse, which when you do the math gets you to 20 stories under the language of the story definition in the zoning bylaw. In my opinion, the definition of story, which includes, as I said, below grade levels and mechanical penthouses, is rather dated by today's standards. If this site were covered by the new harmonized zoning bylaw, below grade parking is not included in that bylaw in building height, nor are mechanical penthouses. So we're dealing with, in my opinion, an outdated bylaw that in addition has poor wording around the definitions. The bylaw was passed in 1996. In terms of the variances, and I'll get to this at the end of my presentation, in my opinion, all 4 tests of Section 45(1) of the Planning Act are addressed and satisfactorily addressed. I'm going to turn now to the staff report recommending refusal of the application. I've highlighted these points in my letter of May the 4th to you. And I'll just go through 3 or 4 points that staff make in objection. They state that height limits density and scale. The main ways that planning deals with density is through floor space index, as well as density measures such as number of dwellings per unit. Those are traditional density regulations. Building height is somewhat secondary in terms of limiting density. In any case, as I outlined in my letter, with this building, the St. John's McNichol development will be below the maximum densities permitted on this site. 533 dwelling units versus 578 permitted, that's below the maximum density. 2.21 FSI, below 2.5 FSI permitted. That's below the maximum density. The staff maintained that the OMB in 2007 understood that the number of floors would be less than the 18-story limit. I've included as Appendix A to my letter the visual exhibit that we presented to the OMB back then. It shows a building with 2 levels of underground, 17 residential floors, and a full mechanical penthouse. By the math of the Scarborough bylaw, that would be a 20-story building. That's the section there. That would be a 20-story building, yet you'll see it was labeled on the drawing as 17 stories. In addition, the OMB in its decision, and my letter takes you to the page of the decision, referred to this as a 17-story building. So I think staff are just incorrect in what the board considered back in 2007. Staff also claimed that the residential floor, the additional residential floor, would impact the function of nearby industries and represents an intensification of the site. I've cited to you the densities previously. This is not an intensification of the site. We are below the maximum densities permitted in the bylaw. We are in an employment area. The issue of residential uses within an employment area was extensively canvassed by the OMB during the hearing. There were numerous witnesses from both sides dealing with this issue, and the OMB, having heard the evidence, concluded that residential uses, in fact, can coexist with nearby employment uses. The evidence of that is the 2 other residential buildings that have been developed by St. John's McNichol on the site.
Martin, sorry to interrupt you. Sorry, Martin, to interrupt you. Could you please close your comments? Your time's up.
Sure.
Okay.
Lastly, staff are referring to the current employment policies and seem to be considering this almost a conversion of employment uses. Again, I cite this in my letter. The OMB in 2007 considered the employment areas policies of what became the current official plan, and again concluded that the residential uses were compatible and could coexist. In summary, in my opinion, the variance meets the general intent of the official plan. The use in the building type is permitted. It meets the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw in terms of limiting the height. It's desirable for the appropriate development of the site and consistent with other development on the site. The variance has no impact on adjacent uses and therefore is minor. Be happy to answer any questions members may have.
Thank you, Martin. Members of the committee, any questions for Martin? Member Said, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Martin, for giving all these details. Actually, the number of dwellings is not the variance coming over here, is the floor. I wonder, like in your definition, you said this could be an issue of definition many years before, and the recent developments where you say that the underground level or the mechanical penthouse could not be, like you give an example of another building, which is 20th floor, but they consider as 17th floor. So if this is the issue of understanding or a definition, would you be agreed to go back to the community planning and to have a further discussions with them and to reach up to a consensus on defining whether these 2 floors are counted towards the total floors of the building, or would you just want a decision from the committee today?
Everything I presented to you, I presented to community planning staff 3 months ago. These plans were reviewed by the building department plans examiner who interpreted the bylaw, and that led to the variance. So I am here because Toronto Building has determined that this is the variance the proposal requires. And again, everything I presented to you was presented to community planning staff before they wrote their report.
Thank you, Martin.
Okay, thank you. Member Macaulay, please go ahead.
Okay. Can you hear me all right?
We can hear you now.
I'm
Please
having
go.
difficulty with mute and on mute. Thank you. Mr. Randall, this application, if approved, and before it proceeds to a building permit, I understand would have to be approved through site plan approval application. Is that correct? And have you submitted a site plan application yet?
You're correct. The entire site is subject to site plan control. Every building that is built now, including the 2 residential buildings, underwent site plan control. We have a site plan control application in at the present time. What would be dealt with at site plan control for the building would be the submission of, for example, noise and vibration impact studies, just as was done for every other residential building on the site. And short answer to your question is yes, it's subject to site plan control.
Thank you. I think
If I may,
you're
Member
aware that
Macaulay. Sorry, Member Macaulay,
Yes.
to interrupt you. If I may, I just want to get some clarification. Martin, we understand the entire site is subject to site plan control, but has an application been submitted for this proposed development?
We've been submitting site plan applications in phases as on the
Martin, we
property.
can't. There's a lot of interruption, Martin. Can't hear you.
But I said,
Yeah, we couldn't hear the last bit that you said.
the site plan applications have been in phases. There's 4 phases. This will be the 4th phase. We are in now for the 3rd phase. There will be one when this building should it go ahead.
You mean should the committee approve the variances today, there will be a future site plan application for the phase 4?
Whether or not you approve the application, a building will go up in phase 4 and will be subject to site plan control. If you approve this, it'll be subject to site plan control. If there is another building, it will be subject to site plan control. Any building is subject to site plan control.
Got it. Okay, thank you for that clarification. Okay, sorry, Member Macaulay, I had to interrupt, but I thought it was a question for that subject that was being discussed, so I brought it in. So over to you again, Member Macaulay.
I have no further questions.
Okay, thank you. Members, any other member, any question? No? Okay, I don't see any comments or questions. So, Martin, before we take the matter into committee, any questions and any closing remarks?
No, I think I've addressed the issues.
Okay, thank you very much for your time. I take the matter into committee now. Committee members, you heard Martin's presentation and his explanation. We had some questions and responses to it. Yes, Member Macaulay?
I'm waiting for you to.
Okay. No, so I was just basically saying any comments at this time. So go ahead.
Yes, Madam Chair, I do have some comments at this time. One of the issues that we are hit with as committee of adjustment over and over again is the difference between the City of Toronto bylaw and the old City of Scarborough bylaw. The old City of Scarborough bylaw was enacted in the 1990s up in this area, and it includes provisions that are no longer relevant and are no longer in use in the overall new City of Toronto bylaw. The fact that the employment areas have not been made incorporated into the City of Toronto bylaw is an administrative problem that the city has had for, I guess, 10 years now, trying to justify and rationalize the various changes. But one of the changes, as we have here, is the definition of how building height is determined. As Mr. Randall has said, if you're dealing with building height in terms of stories, you do not include the mechanical penthouse, you do not include the underground parking structures. That is of City of Toronto, and in their wisdom, they have determined that those features, which are features to most apartment buildings, do not substantially add to the amount of development on the site in terms of density, in terms of number of use. So I see this variance as pretty much a technical variance. If this development was in the City of Toronto, there would be no variance. The fact that it's in an old bylaw that has not yet been adopted is handicapping everyone and is requiring this variance. I think we're on to the third building on this site. The buildings are desperately needed, as we can tell through the last COVID pandemic that we're dealing with. In my opinion, it is appropriate use of the site and the variances are appropriate.
Okay, thank you, Member Macaulay. Great comments, appreciate those. Any further comments? Okay, I see none. All right, thank you. So now I look for a motion. Member Macaulay, please go ahead.
I will recommend approval of this variance. I don't think it has to be subject to anything else. The application is going to be going through site plan approval in any case. All we're doing is allowing the application to proceed through the normal planning process by looking or by considering the definition of stories excluding underground and a mechanical penthouse.
Okay,
Therefore,
so
I recommend approval of this application.
okay, so basically the variance that's in the application, you're proposing that it be approved.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. All right, we have a motion on the floor to approve the application, the proposed variance. Member McKay, please go ahead.
Yes, Madam Chair, I'm satisfied that the four conditions are met here, and I second the approval. I'm having some reverberation here. I'll see
Yes.
if I can fix it on my end, but I do second the motion to approve.
Just bear with me. Who do you say, Anne? Okay, so other members who are not speaking, can you please mute yourselves? Oh, and Gary, you're logged in twice. Gary, can you say something now?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can, Madam Chair. I'll see if I can take out
You're logged in with two devices, and I think that's what's causing the echo. Are you logged in through any other device as well?
No, I'm not. Just the one. I think I will leave the event on one and just see what happens.
Okay, before you do, we'll try to pick on what you're saying. So we have a motion on the floor, and you want to? No, we lost you. You've muted yourself.
Hi there.
Go ahead.
I'm getting triple feedback, but I second the motion to approve this variance without conditions.
Okay, all right. So Member McCauley put forward the motion to approve the application. Member McKay seconds the motion. All in favor of this motion? All opposed? Okay, the application has been approved and there are no conditions at this point. Thank you, Mr. Rendell, for your time. Gary, I would suggest that you, can you say something now? Unmute yourself and say something. No, we can't hear you. Unmute.
Okay.
Say something.
Hi, Madam Chair, can you hear me?
Perfect, perfect.
Okay, I'm going to join the event again.
No, you don't have to. Don't have to.
Okay, sorry. Okay. All right.
It's perfect right now. Just stay where you are. Okay, thank you. All right, moving along. Yes, the new stream.
Yes.
Please stop.
Through the chair,
Yeah.
for those viewers who are on YouTube, we are going to be switching over to a new session. So if you could please join us with the Committee of Adjustment Public Hearing Scarborough, May 12th, 2021, the PM session, and it's identified as Part 1. That's May 12th, 2021 for the Scarborough session, PM Part 1. Thank you very much.